chat. Shout out to the chat. A lot of them. Oh, whoops. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. We back. We back. We back. We back. Look at my stuff. It keeps moving. I'm gonna have to fix this. Lord of mercy. Every time I come back, everything doesn't move. All right. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. Here we are again. Another episode of the Karen Retrial. This is day 3. This is day 3. This is an interesting trial. I'm very much intrigued. I don't mind sitting here and watching it because I would do it by myself too. So man, so I'm interested in this one, and I want to see what's happening next. So we on day 3, the Karen Reed trial. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Let me give y'all some incentive to hit the like button. Give you guys some incentive. Shout out to the chat. 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 Let me do this one over here. Did you hit the like button? Did you hit the like button? You got some incentive right there. All right, all right, all right. This over here in vertical. We about to get started. We about to get started right away. We about to get started right away. Karen Retrial, ladies and gentlemen. The first one. The first one. We on day 3, and we're gonna check this whole thing out, man. It's a lot of sketchy stuff, a lot of side eyeing, because it seems like there's some inconsistencies with the witnesses who are predominantly people in law enforcement, and it's real. It's real. It doesn't look good when law enforcement seems like they are being dishonest. It don't look good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. You know. All right. I think we're good to go. Okay. So we're gonna get this started. Let me get our video ready. Make sure we don't miss nothing. Hold on. Is it? Okay. That was day 2. We're doing day 3. Right? Yeah. So day 3 is another half a day. So day 2 was a half a day. Day 3 is another half a day. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. Another half a day. What is this? So once I put the poll in here, it keeps putting the poll in between. I don't know why it's doing that. It keeps putting the poll in the comments there. I don't like that. I don't like that. Why is it doing that? All right. Anyway. I don't like to see that. It bothers me. It bothers me. Let me get it off the screen because it bothers me. All right, let's get to day 3, the beginning of this trial.
Follow the instructions and refrain from doing any where my job is to teach. I will give you here on this case. Yes. Everyone said yes and nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left here on Tuesday? No. Everyone said no or shook their heads. So, Jurors, from time to time, I will give you instructions or talk to you for a few minutes about how you evaluate evidence. So I just want to take a couple of minutes today. It's part of my job, where my job is to teach the jury about the law. So in considering the testimony of any witness, please remember that questions are not evidence. Only the answers, which are in fact the only part of the exchange between the lawyer and the witness that are given under oath, are evidence. So, if a witness is asked, isn't it true that after you learned that your uncle left you money in his will, you poisoned him? And the witness answers no, based solely on that question and that answer, there's no evidence that the witness has an uncle, that the uncle had a will, that the uncle left the witness money, that the witness knew that he did, or that the witness poisoned him. So going forward, I want you to consider the evidence in that regard. Also, there were videos shown to you, and I expect that throughout the course of this trial, there'll be many more videos shown to you. These videos are evidence, and there's audio on these. So what the video shows is for you folks to decide. Not me, not any of the lawyers. What an audio recording says is for you to decide. Not me, not any of the lawyers, because you find the facts. That's your job. We all have different jobs, but finding the facts in the case is your job. Okay? So with that, please get the Commonwealth's witness back on the stand. Mr. Flamati. Jim?
Yes.
Swear in again, please. Thank you.
Just watch your step up. Nice to see you to raise your right hand one more time. You solemnly swear the evidence you give the court and jury of the case now and here, to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Before I begin, may I just approach the witness to return Exhibit 1?
Sure.
Report. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Now, firefighter Flamati. I believe when we had left off the other day, you had arrived in the area of 34 Fairview Road. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when you arrived there, what, if anything, did you do upon your arrival?
So on arrival, positioning the apparatus is going to be our most important thing, trying to figure out where our patient is and parking our apparatus close enough, especially at nighttime, that we can light up the scene as well as we can. Try and figure out how to approach a scene, because if we have to trek equipment farther distances, it can slow our response down. So we try and make sure our arrival and positioning is as best as we can put it.
And as far as positioning in reference to when you first are sort of pulling up on the scene, where are you in the ambulance again?
So I would have been the passenger of the ambulance. Usually the tech that's leading into the call will sit on the passenger side to try and mentally get ready for what's going on, whether it's reviewing protocols or just trying to assess the information coming across the radio so you can update your treatment plan as much as you can before you even see the victim.
And when the ambulance comes to a stop where it's parked in your positions, where is, what if anything do you see sort of as far as the scene is concerned?
So we have our fire apparatus that are helping light up the scene, but we also have two female parties going by to the victim on the side of the road and going back and forth between that person and the side of the road.
And from the position when you first arrive, are you able to see the person on the side of the road?
You can see a shape of a person, so we know that's where the patient is, because we reported that there was a party on the side of the road. So seeing a body shape, that clued us that that was where we were headed.
In addition to the ambulance that you're in, how many other vehicles are on scene when you get there?
When I get there, I believe it is engine 3 and car 5.
And beyond sort of the vehicles from your department, what, if any, other vehicles do you see when you get there?
If I remember correctly, it was just a personal vehicle. I don't remember if there's any police cars on scene at that time.
And from your orientation when you pull up, where is the body positioned? To your left, to your right, or something?
To my left.
And so after the ambulance is positioned, what do you do from there?
So then it's going to be bringing all the equipment over to the patient's side to be able to extricate them from that situation, whether it's a house or a street or a road. We assess where they are and then the best tools to get them out into the ambulance to be able to work effectively on the patient.
When you proceed over to, now, again, at some points subsequent later on, are you able to identify who the person on the ground is?
Yes. We will try and get a general idea of the age of the patient, the positioning of the patient, how they were found, and then when we get them into the ambulance, we can start identifying ways to register that patient in the emergency room. So identifiers, whether it's a license or witnesses, or we try and figure out who they are so they can get registered at the hospital.
At some point, were you able to identify who this person was?
That's correct. His wallet was in his pocket, and we were able to grab his license.
And who were you able to identify as?
That was John O'Keefe.
And so, with reference to Mr. O'Keefe, when you first observed him on the ground, how far away from the street or the roadway is he?
I'd say approximately 10 feet away from the road.
And how is he positioned as far as how is his body positioned on the ground?
I'd have to review, but I believe he was supine on his back.
Just in general terms, first, when you're responding to a call of this nature, what are some of the protocols or that you were speaking about? What is it that you're seeking to do or assess when you first arrive?
So we're trying to determine if it's a cardiac arrest, that whether it's a viable transport or workable arrest. We have certain protocols within the Massachusetts protocols for whether we work the patient or we relieve the patient on scene if it's a police matter, if there's injuries not sustainable with life. So we're trying to make that assessment before we make any decisions.
Let me stop there just for 1 second. You use the term as far as cardiac arrest. Based on your training and experience, what do you understand that term?
So cardiac arrest, to the best of my knowledge, is just the cessation of electrical and mechanical activity in the cardiac muscle. So the cardiac muscle pumps blood throughout the body, and when that stops, all life stops after that.
Now, in particular reference to the conditions, the weather conditions that you find yourself in, what, if anything else, is sort of on the scale or spectrum in regard to diagnosis?
So cardiac arrest, depending on where they're found, we try and figure out what led them to be at that point. So we're looking at weather conditions as well. That can also affect viability of resuscitation. So due to the extreme weather, extreme cold, we'll attempt resuscitation on that patient due to the fact that it'll prolong viability of the arrest or ability to recover from cardiac arrest afterwards. So weather is definitely a key factor in where they are found.
And you're familiar with the term based on your training experience called hypothermia?
Correct.
And so what, if any, sort of relationship does cardiac arrest have? Well, let me ask you this first. What is your understanding of the term hypothermia?
Exposure to extreme cold that lowers your core and extremity temperatures down to below 95 degrees, usually.
And what, if any, interplay is there between hypothermia and cardiac arrest?
So like I said before, it'll prolong how long, it'll preserve the body after arrest. So if somebody's found in like a cold water situation, there's been multiple reports of patients recovering after being drowned in cold water for up to an hour. So viability is definitely improved by the cold weather.
As far as viability is concerned, you talk about doing your assessment. What are sort of the steps that go into your assessment?
So we're looking at obvious signs of death. So we're looking at exposure of brain matter. We're looking at traumatic injuries, decapitation. Things that would basically be non-life sustainable. We're looking at signs of lividity and rigor to basically show us how long the patient has been down for.
And the age of a particular patient, what, if any, relationship does that have to your assessment?
So it'll show the extent of frailty the patient has. If somebody's an elderly patient, severe cancer patient, their ability to sustain a cardiac event like that is less. So somebody that's younger or middle-aged will have a much better chance of recovery afterwards. But that would really be the only key that we're looking at.
And what, if any, observations did you make of Mr. O'Keefe during your assessment of him initially?
Just that he was a middle-aged male, and that was all we had.
And as far as the other things that you were talking about, as far as viability or resuscitation, what, if anything, did you observe with reference to Mr. Keefe in regard to that?
So with viability, we were looking at any rigidity or rigor in the body, or lividity or separation of blood. You would have a pooling of blood or bruising, it would look like, at the lower parts of the body, depending on how the person's positioned. Basically, if they're supine, you'd have positioning or pooling underneath the body, and then you would have stiffness of the arms, legs, jaw, neck. To be able to move the body, we're looking to, if they don't have those things present, it's another check mark of saying this is viable, we can work this.
And specifically as it applies to your assessment of Mr. O'Keefe, what, if anything, do you recall in regard to that initial assessment as far as viability?
So his limbs were able to be moved, jaw was able to be moved. The posterior of his body was red, so not the indicative of lividity that we're looking for. So we termed it to be a viable arrest and continue to work.
You mentioned as far as sort of gathering your equipment, bringing it over to Mr. O'Keefe, what, if any, equipment did you gather?
So equipment initially is going to be our scoop stretcher to be able to pick the patient up, break apart, put it underneath him. We have our first in bag, an airway bag, cardiac monitor. We'll bring all that over to the patient's side to be able to do as much as we can in that situation. But due to the weather, we wanted to get him out of the weather, because that was one of the things that was hurting him at that point, is getting him into the warmer ambulance and beginning the warming process. So get into an area where we can assess the patient thoroughly with good lighting, and to be able to expose the patient, begin the warming process.
And when you go over to where Mr. O'Keefe is, about 10 feet off the roadway, who, if anyone, from your department goes along with you?
So I have Matt Kelly with me and Tim Nuttall. I also have Frank Walsh, Katie McLaughlin, and Greg Woodbury, and Captain Robbery.
And as far as this sort of initial assessment on the ground with Mr. O'Keefe, what, if anything, were sort of each of those respective people doing with regard to Mr. O'Keefe?
I'd have to review specific interventions as far as who did what, when. But that's why we document things immediately afterwards, so it's all fresh.
Of course.
So
Especially-
CPR was initiated by me, and ALS assessment as well. So I can go over individual interventions if you'd like, but it's really cool.
And for the record, sir, you're looking at exhibit number 160, and what page of that are you looking at?
It says 2 of 5 of my EMS report, but
I'm wondering, did you happen to hear Karen Reed say, I hit him, and it's all my fault? Did you hear that, sir? I just want to know.
there's also the NFIRS report on the top as well.
So initially, when you go over to Mr. O'Keefe, how many other people are sort of in that area at that time?
So in the area, we have the first responders, and then we have the 2 female parties on scene.
Where were the 2 females in relation to Mr. O'Keefe?
So as we're approaching the scene, they were kind of in between us and the patient, so we tried to gather as much information as we could from them as we could.
So once you make that determination as far as viability of resuscitative efforts, sort of specifically, what are you and the other firefighters doing in regard to those efforts with Mr. O'Keefe?
So we're beginning CPR. We're trying to establish good quality CPR. get the patient onto our stretcher, begin an IO, start medication, start ventilating the patient. All this, all of the conditions that the body has, we're trying to remedy through intervention. So we're trying to breathe for the patient. We're starting to press on his chest, to do CPR, to cause his cardiac muscle to compress, spread blood through the heart, cardiac muscle, cerebral brain. And we're trying to reverse what's happening in the body.
Now, as far as when Mr. O'Keefe, you observed him on the ground, what, if any, snow did you observe on or around him in that area?
So the snow was probably up to the mid-axillary point, so we're looking at probably halfway up his rib point. Top of his body was clear.
And do you know about how much snow was covering his body up to the mid-axillary?
I'd say probably about 4 inches, 4 to 6 inches.
Now, as far as your observations, Mr. O'Keefe, when he's on the grounds, what, if any, observations did you make as far as how he was dressed?
For the exposure, I'd say he was pretty underdressed. Long sleeve t-shirt, jeans, nothing really substantial to be out in that type of weather.
And at this point, or any subsequent point, what, if any, observations did you make of Mr. O'Keefe's footwear?
By the time so our first priority is obviously going to be treating the patient. His clothes do matter, but it's on the list of priorities, not huge. So by the time we figured out he was missing one of his shoes, we were already at the hospital at that point.
And do you recall which of his shoes he was missing?
I don't know.
And as far as that missing shoe, was that something that you or any of the other firefighters, paramedics would have needed to have removed on scene pursuant to any sort of treatment?
Nothing would have been done through the feet. It would have been just exposure of the patient to see possibly the extent of frostbite, if it had started affecting his extremities, fingers, nose, that type of thing, of hypothermic reaction there.
Would that be something that would have been removed by one of you or one of the other firefighters while he was on the ground?
If it would have been removed, both of them would have been removed to assess that. It wouldn't do much good to just remove one and leave it there on scene.
Now, as far as the two females that you observed, did they sort of remain in the same position you initially observed them? Did they move around or something?
They kind of cleared a little bit away from the scene. I would say they moved off to the right of the apparatus so we could work on the patient at that time.
And what, if any, conversation or what, if anything, did you ask either of those two?
So how the patient was found and what brought them to that situation is critical. So we're trying to figure out as much information, past medical history, that we can of the patient. So we're trying to find somebody who has knowledge of the event. So as we approach the scene, begin to talk to one of the females. What is going on? Why are they there? What happened?
And you say you're speaking to one of the two females, is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you see any of those females in the courtroom today?
That's correct. Miss Reed.
Could you just identify as to where Ms. Reed is seated or an article closed?
Right there.
I just asked a record reflect identification.
Okay.
With regard to one of the two females that you were talking to, was that Ms. Reed or was that somebody else?
That was Miss Reed.
And why, if at all, were you talking to her versus one of the other females that you observed?
She seemed to be the one that was most personally affected by it, so figured she'd had the most information about why the person was there.
And what, if any, observations did you make of her in regard to your conclusion that she was the one who seemed the most personally affected by it?
She was the most distressed on scene, obviously upset, so personally related to or had a kind of relationship with the person.
Before we get to any conversations, what, if anything, did you observe Ms. Reed or any of the females doing with reference to Mr. O'Keefe's body when you first started to come up to this?
So I would characterize it as an attempted resuscitation. She was attempting to do CPR, but due to the erratic behavior, she was running back and forth between the other female on scene and the body, back and forth, trying to press on his chest, wake him up, talk to him, just to no avail.
And as far as your conversation with Ms. Reed, what, if any, questions asked in regard to the demographics or anything?
So do you have any information of who this is? How are they here? Tried to get any type of information we could from her at that time, but with no luck.
When you say with no luck, what, if any, response did you receive from Ms. Reed in regard to your question?
So the only response that I was personally given was just, I hit him, oh my God, I hit him.
And when she's saying, I hit him, oh my God, I hit him, how loudly is she saying that?
So she was within 2 feet of me, but very loud. Any type of follow-up questioning, did you hit him with your hand? Did you kick him? What happened? She just repeated the phrase over and over again, I hit him, I hit him.
So he heard it too. Let me go back. I'm sorry. Was this the third person? Now, when he was talking, he sounded like a real reasonable person. So now I need to understand. Did you write that down, sir? Did you take note of this? Did you report that to someone the day of? Because man, another one.
Information we could from her at that time, but with no luck.
When you say with no luck, what, if any, response did you receive from Ms. Reed in regard to your question?
So the only response that I was personally given was just, I hit him, oh my God, I hit him.
And when she's saying, I hit him, oh my God, I hit him, how loudly is she saying that?
So she was within 2 feet of me, but very loud. Any type of follow-up questioning, did you hit him with your hand? Did you kick him? What happened? She just repeated the phrase over and over again, I hit him, I hit him.
And just to be clear, where does this conversation occur?
This was as we're bringing equipment over to the patient. The interventions are going to be started basically by whoever gets over to the scene first. I'm trying to gather information as a lead paramedic to try and coordinate interventions and therapy to kind of holistically be the team leader in that situation and treat and transport the patient. So it was on approach to the patient, probably halfway between the ambulance and the patient.
And with regard to that treatment of Mr. O'Keefe, I think you referenced it earlier being within your report. What were sort of those steps or what, if anything, did you and the other firefighters do with regard to treatment? Before you answer that, Your Honor, may I request, may the witness just refer to the EMS report as it goes?
Yes, if need be.
Thank you. So we try and document through our flow chart of all of the interventions that we're doing. So CPR is obviously going to be our first priority. CPR is initiated, unchanged but successful in the actual intervention itself, no complications. We do our ALS assessment that we talked about of any further indications of this is not a viable arrest. We determined it was a viable arrest and we move on. Then we're going to start, we refer to it as a bag valve mask at 15 liters per minute on oxygen. The patient's not breathing on their own, so we're trying to assist ventilating that with high flow oxygen as well. And easy IO, which is a needle we put into the bone of the tibia of the patient. That was on the right tibia was the first one we put in. We're going to be putting in warm fluid. We have a warmer in the back to be able to bring up the core temperature. Then we start with epinephrine, 1 milligram through that IO.
I could just stop you there for 1 second. When you say as far as IO, and put it into the leg, how is that sort of inserted into the leg?
So we have two different methods we can do. We have a drill, power drill that drills through the outer layer of the bone into the capillary area of the bone, the soft, spongy material. So we drill through that, or we can do it by hand if that fails.
And when it comes to the epinephrine, what is sort of the purpose of that medication? What are you trying to do with that medication?
So that medication will improve, it's a vasoconstrictor. It'll cause the vasculature to constrict. So it'll improve the quality or effectiveness on the cardiac muscle, cardiac vasculature, and the cerebral area.
So as far as the administration of epinephrine is concerned, is that something that's done once or more than once? And is there a protocol for that?
So it's going to be serial every 3 to 5 minutes during the cardiac arrest to try and bring them over to the hospital so it continues that entire time unless there's a rhythm change or that can change our algorithm of how we approach the patient. If there's a rhythm regain or return of spontaneous circulation.
So how many times or what times was the epinephrine administered via the IO to those?
So I have epinephrine at 620, 625, 630, 635, 640, 645.
And when was that first administered? Would that have been at some point when he was outside of the ambulance on the ground or in the ambulance or something?
It would be dependent on transport time. So we're at patient side at 6:15, transport 6:27. So best estimation would have been inside of the ambulance at that point.
I'm sorry I interrupted you before, but after sort of the introduction of the epinephrine, what if anything, did you and the other firefighters?
After the first round? Yeah. So first round of epinephrine. After that, we would drop in what's called an OPA. That would be to push the tongue out of the way, open up the airway to improve our bag valve mass so it has an open way to get the oxygen into the lungs. We begin external warming, stripping the patient, getting the heat turned up in the back of the ambulance. We would then switch over from manual CPR done by hand to a mechanical CPR device to ensure adequate, consistent CPR compressions of the chest. It was a Lucas device. Put that on the patient. And then we continue with another round of epi. Patient's starting to warm up this time, so we would do suction at that point to try and suction fluid out of the airway to improve ventilation efforts. Another round of epi is done. We have another suction, this time through a deep suction via the endotracheal tube. At 6:22, after warming, we intubated the patient. We have a 7.5 tube paced at 27 centimeters, and then verified through various means, through chest rise, auscultation, waveform, and tidal CO2. So we had complications listed as patient vomiting, aspirating. Suction was then done with a rigid tip suction device. After successful intubation, we then suctioned via French tube through the airway established. Jump back up to 6:31. Another IO line was established on the opposite tibia on the left side. And then another 3 rounds of epi, and then arrival at the hospital.
What was the arrival time at the hospital?
At destination was 6:45.
What hospital was that again? I'm sorry.
Good Samaritan Medical Center.
There's a term that you use in your reports called, and I'll probably butcher this, but asystole, is that correct?
Yeah, asystole is going to be a cardiac rhythm where there is no electrical activity in the heart and is referred to as flatline.
What, if any, observations did you make in your treatment diagnosis in regards to Mr. O'Keefe as far as asystole?
So that was the rhythm he was found in. Yeah, from initial rhythm I have on the EKG at 632 is asystole. So we'd basically observe that for any changes, whether it's increase of electrical activity, regain of adequate pulses, all of that can kind of be hinted at with the cardiac rhythm. And then we would change our algorithm based on whether we go down the ROSC protocol or we continue down the cardiac arrest protocol.
And whether it's on scene or it's in the ambulance, is there sort of a division of task or division of different skill that's being employed in patient care?
So patient care will have to do with level of training and also proximity on the patient. Where you get into the ambulance is just logistically, if you have the training, it's not a huge open ER, it's a small environment. So we try and not have people jump over each other as best as we can.
And if you recall, who was sort of doing what in relation to treatment of this patient?
So in the back of the ambulance specifically?
Yes.
Okay, in the back of the ambulance, Tim Nuttall was managing the airway. I was the team lead that was kind of coordinating all of the interventions. Matt Kelly was assisting in gathering equipment, doing CPR before the mechanical device was placed on. Basically, they act as an assistant to hand equipment, place things in strategic areas around so we can actually work without having to go get those physical things ourselves.
Now, as far as you indicated removal of Mr. O'Keefe's clothing once in the ambulance, correct?
Yes.
What was it about sort of the condition of the clothing that led to the removal of that?
So removal of clothing is actually pretty standard for any cardiac arrest, any traumatic injuries. We're basically trying to get further clues because this is all happening very quickly. So we're trying to get more evidence of why are they here. We're looking for extremity injuries, crush injuries, bruising, anything that we could document, that we could pass on to the emergency room staff and doctors. So we would strip most patients.
And as far as were you involved personally, as far as sort of the cutting of the clothing and stripping the patient?
Yes.
And upon removal of the clothing, what, if anything, did you observe as to sort of the condition of the clothing or texture of the clothing at that point?
Condition seemed pretty well intact, but just wet and cold.
And what, if any, relationship would the wet and cold clothing have to any of the diagnoses that you were running through in regard to this dose?
It would really just be the exposure to the weather would be our biggest trigger off of that, or if you had protruding injuries through the clothing, compound fractures, things like that. The clothing was intact, but we knew it was wet, it was cold. So as we strip things off of him, we can see underneath basically if there are any not every fracture breaks through the skin, not everything causes obvious things, obvious signs. So as we strip the patient, we can begin to further assess.
Take you back just for a second to outside of the ambulance.
Yep.
What, if anything, specifically were you able to observe with reference to any injuries Mr. O'Keefe has sustained?
Injuries are pretty tough to see outside of the ambulance just due to the weather, due to the lighting. We have seen lighting on the ambulance as well, but
let me ask you,
yeah.
as far as what, if any, difference did you know between the lighting in the back of the ambulance versus when you were with Mr. O'Keefe on the ground?
So he was still out in the weather at that point, so bleeding wasn't really obvious at that point. As soon as we get him into the back of the ambulance, then we start noticing hemorrhage from different areas of his body.
And when you say hemorrhage from different areas, which areas specifically?
So mostly from his mouth, his eyes, nose. Yeah.
You would think that an egg on his eye would stand out to make you say, I noticed how big his eye was swollen. Like, I would think that the way they describing how much his eye was swollen, that would be something that I point out immediately. Like, one thing I noticed is his eye. Like, you wouldn't even have to ask me that. You wouldn't have to ask me 2 or 3 questions. One of the first things I would tell you is, man, his eye, though.
And just to be clear for the record, when you use the term hemorrhage based on your training experience, what do you understand that?
Bleeding, external bleeding.
Now, you mentioned that there was some suctioning of Mr. O'Keefe's airway, is that correct?
Correct.
And what, if anything, specifically was suctioned from Mr. O'Keefe's?
Suctioning from the airway was mostly blood, blood, sputum.
And as far as how much, what if anything, you have to sort of measure how much blood was suctioned out of Mr. O'Keefe's airway?
So we have a canister that has marks of milliliters, so we can determine as we're suctioning how much is in that container at different times.
And about how much, based on that, was suctioned from Mr. O'Keefe's airway?
So the initial suctioning with the rigid tip was about 150 milliliters. And subsequently, so that would have been above the airway, in the mouth, in that type of area. We established the intubation, and then deep suctioning with that soft tip through the intubation tube would have been another 50 milliliters of fluid.
Now, with reference to, you mentioned some observations in Mr. O'Keefe's back, correct?
What's that?
You
Sorry.
mentioned some observations you made earlier in reference to Mr. O'Keefe's back.
Yes.
And what were those again?
So that would have been redness of the skin and the posterior of the body.
What, if any, significance did that have to you as far as your observation goes?
So redness from the skin, if it's general or across the body, can mean certain things. If it's just a particular area, and due to the fact that it was cold outside, that would have been the initial stages of frostbite or exposure to cold.
And as far as the remainder of Mr. O'Keefe's body, what, if any, other observations did you make? In which areas did you make those observations to in regard to the initial state?
So for as far as the cold exposure, cold exposure, we're looking at the most exterior parts. Extreme cold exposure can lead to frost nip and frostbite in different areas. The first affected areas are going to be your fingers, your ears, your nose, your toes, that type of. So that was a cold, waxy, pale, stark white substance, basically, or condition of his skin.
And on each of those areas that you just described?
Yes.
Now, sort of up in the area of Mr. O'Keefe's head, you mentioned some bleeding from the eyes and the nose, correct?
Yes.
As well as his mouth.
Yes.
And beyond that, what, if any, observations did you make of any other sort of injuries to his head or his face?
So his eyes were pretty well swollen. We were trying to clear areas of blood to figure out if there were any contusions around the head. I believe there was a contusion on his forehead. Also had some markings on his extremities as well.
And just as far as your understanding, based on your training experience, when you use the word contusion, what do you understand that?
Bruising.
And before we get to the extremities, what, if any, observations do you make as far as Mr. O'Keefe's abdomen?
Abdomen we noted as significant as distension or swelling of the belly.
And what, if any, significance did that have to you in regard to Mr. O'Keefe?
It's another of our detailed assessments. We go through the body in a more detailed way to try and find more clues that we can pass on for the assessment. Distension in the belly could be due to trauma or bloating. It could be, those are usually our biggest triggers for distension.
It's almost like he didn't want to say bloating, because that's what I thought. The body sitting there and start getting bloated.
Now, you mentioned, as far as the extremities are concerned, what, if anything, did you observe as far as injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's extremities?
So we're looking at, so we had the cold, rigid fingers, hands, feet, then we had multiple dry blood lacerations to the right arm.
Recall specifically where on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm?
Would have been his upper arm.
And you mentioned dry blood, is that correct?
Yes.
So these were not actively bleeding at the time that you observed them?
No.
Now, as far as being dry blood versus actively bleeding, what, if anything, that indicate to you as far as sort of timing?
So we had active bleeding from other areas in the body. So the fact that it had already stopped and clotted, I would assume that would have been
Even longer.
several hours before the incident that led him to be there, but
Wow.
I would guess earlier in the evening.
Chef X, what's the problem?
Now, as far as the history is concerned, your attempts on scene, and then what, if any, attempts were made subsequent when you were in the ambulance to obtain any sort of history of how Mr. O'Keefe can be there, or what, if any, thing causing injuries you observed?
Once we get the patient into the ambulance, there was no family, no bystanders in the back of the ambulance, so then it's going to be solely based on physical assessment.
And within sort of the team of firefighters that you had, who, if anyone, did you direct to try and obtain that information while you were in the back?
So that would have been Katie McLaughlin.
And what did you ask Ms. McLaughlin?
So Katie was one of our senior paramedics at the time. So we had enough skilled hands working on the patient at that time. So to direct her, I wasn't able to get as much information and still had a skill to do, or still had a task to do, to run the cardiac arrest. So I directed Miss Reed over to Katie to try and gather more information as to why they were there. If you could get any more information about who he was, events leading to the injury, how long he was down for, any type of information, and then moved on to the patient at that point.
And so firefighter McLaughlin is having this conversation outside of the ambulance, is that correct?
That's correct.
This is going on while you're inside of the ambulance actively treating Mr. O'Keefe.
It was a very quick process. So I start the conversation, wasn't productive, wasn't moving forward, moved her over to firefighter McLaughlin, continued on to the patient, and then started treatment, moved the patient in, and then Katie came into the back of the ambulance to help. So it was a very quick process.
Now, as far as Mr. O'Keefe's eyes were concerned, what, if any, observations further did you make as far as Mr. O'Keefe's eyes?
So both eyes were swollen and bleeding.
What, if any, observations were you able to make of his pupils?
I'm sorry, what?
Pupils?
Pupils. So I've documented as...
I'm sorry, but he's not making a big deal of how swollen the eyes was like everybody else. It's almost like it was just regular swollen, or both his eyes were swollen. One dude said it was looked like an egg. Like, that's so significant that I would have to describe it in detail. You know, like, it's just
4 millimeters and non-reactive.
What, if any, significance is those observations as far as the 4 millimeters non-reactive?
So we're looking for equality between the two. So signs of bleeding can be demonstrated by unequal pupils, or if they were restricted, could lead us to believe it was as a result of an opioid interaction. But we're looking at whether they react to light as well. If there's brain activity, if there's still something causing the body to react, you'll have some type of pupillary response. So we shine light, there was no response, so it was fixed and at 4 millimeters.
Now, at some point, you leave the scene en route to Good Samaritan, is that correct?
That's correct.
And who is continuing treatment of Mr. O'Keefe in the back of the ambulance during transport?
So back of the ambulance and transport would have been Firefighter Kelly, Firefighter Nuttall, and myself.
And who, if anyone, was driving the ambulance between Fairview and Good Samaritan?
So that'll be determined by basically just positioning on the engine. So the step driver for that position would then drive as the detailed person over to the ambulance. That was Firefighter McLaughlin.
Now, during the transport from Fairview to Good Samaritan, what, if anything, are you and the other firefighters in the back of the ambulance doing as far as continuing treatment?
So we started transport at 6:27. So between 6:27 and 6:45, treatments included epinephrine, additional suctioning, managing the airway, placing another intraosseous line, and then 3 additional rounds of epinephrine while the mechanical CPR is continuing CPR.
And during the course of the transport, what, if any, changes in Mr. O'Keefe's status as far as the cardiac arrest or the breathing occurs during the transport?
No changes.
Now, that time that it took to get from Fairview to Good Samaritan, is that sort of a typical transport time?
Not normally. Due to the weather, it was pretty slow driving. Even though the ambulance was a smaller vehicle than the engine, slow transport compared to normal.
And during the course of the transport, what, if any, communication are you having with Good Samaritan in regard to Mr. O'Keefe and his eventual arrival there?
Every medical that goes on, we try to give the hospital staff a heads up, basically, of what's coming in. We'll have different alerts that we would give them, whether it's a cardiac arrest, a stroke, a STEMI, to have the certain appropriate teams come in and be ready, whether it's a trauma alert. There's different specialties within the hospital that'll treat those different particular cases. So we call them 5 to 10 minutes prior to give that team time to get down into the emergency room to get ready to work.
When you arrived at Good Samaritan, who, if anyone, were you met by, and sort of what happened with regard to Mr. O'Keefe?
So we're continuing interventions from the ambulance through the bay into their code room. We're then met by registration, a registered nurse, and the doctor that took care of the patient, as well as a team of other assistants and CNAs.
And where do you physically go with Mr. O'Keefe, or how does that work?
Yep, so that's referred to as a transfer of care. So there's different people, like I said, it's a team base where different people are in charge of different things. We'll have the nurse in charge that's in charge of documenting our interventions that have been done so far, time of down, the patient was down, and then she starts documenting all the different interventions that were done by the hospital staff as well. They also give a report to the doctor, who's then taking over as lead for the cardiac arrest. They're going to start issuing orders for the patient in treatment. And then you have registration that will get the information to register the patient that they can tie all of their interventions to.
And during that sort of process of exchange of information and things of that nature, what, if anything, did you learn in regards to the core body temperature of Mr. O'Keefe?
So to add that assessment, I believe he had core body temperature of 80 degrees.
What, if any, significance does that have in regard to sort of the typical core body temperature?
Typical core body temperature is going to be in the high 90s, where body temperature being at 80 with a rectal temp of core temp is going to be extreme hypothermia.
Now, you're at Good Samaritan for a certain amount of time, correct, before you cleared?
Correct.
And at that point in time, while you were at Good Samaritan, that initial time, what, if anything, did you learn as far as Mr. O'Keefe's status or what had happened?
So as we talked about before with the hypothermia and the extreme cold, they're going to work that for an extended period of time. Most cardiac arrests, I will try and hang out by the patient or in the area. As new staff come through, different things are found. The doctors and nurses might have follow-up questions. So I try to stay available as an asset that they can bounce those questions off, at least for 10 or 15 minutes afterwards. Make sure the whole process is completely transferred from all the interested parties.
And during that course of time, what, if anything, did you learn as sort of the eventual status of Mr. O'Keefe?
We didn't learn anything while we were at the hospital. We then cleared the hospital, returned back to quarters to decon the ambulance and to replenish all the equipment that we had used, get back in service, and move on with the shift.
At some point during the course of the shift, did you have occasion to go back to Good Samaritan?
Me personally, no. It would have been for an additional medical call if there was any calls for service afterwards.
Did you recall whether or not you went back to Good Samaritan for any additional medical calls or anything of that nature?
I don't recall.
So if I could direct your attention to the screen just over there. Ms. Gilman, if I could please have exhibit number 9. And so directing your attention to what's been previously marked as exhibit number 9 up on the screen, you recognize what's in that photograph?
The house.
Is that the house that you responded to? Is that correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have exhibit number. Ms. Gilman, if I could have exhibit number 14. And again, sir, what's up on the screen? You recognize what that is?
I see blood, snow, general area, not sure.
And lastly, Ms. Gilman, if I could have exhibit number 18. And again, firefighter Flamati, you recognize what's depicted up on the screen as exhibit number 18?
Yes.
Can I approach the witness room?
Yes.
Very much.
So, sir, I'm going to hand you a laser pointer. Basically, just press on this button here. This direction will go to the screen. So, firefighter Flamati, within this photograph up on the screen as exhibit 18, do you see the area in which you observed Mr. O'Keefe lying on the ground when you first arrived?
Yes.
And using that laser pointer, could you direct the jury's attention to where in this photograph you observed Mr. O'Keefe when you initially arrived?
Initially arrived would have been in this area here.
Okay. And just one moment, Your Honor.
Yes. If you could turn, thank you.
Nothing further for this witness at this time, Your Honor.
Right, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Cross-examination? Who's up? Who's up? Which one of them? Let me see who gonna take a crack at him.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to start sort of at the beginning. When you first arrived
Yes.
at the location, you indicated that you could, in fact, see the body from your perspective, correct?
I could see a body, yes.
And I think you indicated the shape of the body.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell if it was female or male,
Nope.
but
No.
obviously looked like a human figure.
Yes.
Okay. That drew your attention to the left side of the ambulance as you were approaching, correct?
Yes.
And you're sitting on the right side, which means you're sort of the furthest away from that figure from the perspective of the ambulance.
And the ambulance, yes.
And you had no problem making out that figure in the snow.
So figure in the snow, we had a good distance between the ambulance and the engine, so yes.
Okay. And you indicated that the figure in the snow was on top of the snow, if you will, with some snow accumulating up the body of the individual.
Yes.
But he was not covered in snow.
No.
There wasn't like a mound of snow over this figure.
There were mounds of snow in the area, but not over the patient. Due to the wind, there were snow drifts in the area.
And his clothes were dark as compared to the white snow.
Yes.
Good questions. Good
I want to
questions.
ask you a couple of quick questions about some of the last conversation you had with Mr. Lally about the injuries. You did note that Mr. O'Keefe had a laceration over his right eye, correct?
No, over his right eye.
Over his right eye.
There's a contusion over the eye.
Okay, and your definition of a contusion is,
Bruising.
was it also swollen?
There was swelling around the eyes and a little bit of contusion and bruising around.
Did you see an actively bleeding laceration over his right eye?
I don't recall.
You don't remember that? What about his left eye?
Both eyes were pretty well swollen shut.
What about not from the nostrils, but on the skin on the nose? Did you note a laceration or multiple lacerations on the nose?
So due to the bleeding that was coming from the orifices, trying to clean the area and find exactly where it's from is sometimes difficult, so we can just say it was bleeding in that area.
Okay, so you can't define, as you sit here, you don't remember if it was bleeding from the nostril or from a laceration on the nose?
I believe it was the nostrils.
Okay. Are you saying that there was no laceration on the skin of the nose, or you just don't recall it?
On the top of the nose, no, I don't know.
I'm sorry,
On the top of the nose, I don't recall.
you don't recall. Okay. With regard to his abdomen, you indicated that it was distended,
Yes.
a medical term for swollen.
Yep.
You said that that could be from trauma or it could be just bloating, correct?
Correct.
Did you notice any contusions on his abdomen?
No.
Any skin that was abraded
No.
or cut?
No.
So there was no bruising, no contusion, but there was a distension, correct?
Yes.
So there was no visible trauma to the abdomen.
Visible trauma doesn't really matter to internal trauma. It's not always indicative one way or the other.
So my
Answer
question
the
was,
question.
did you see any visible trauma on his abdomen?
No.
Okay. But you did note that it was bloated.
That it was distended, yeah.
Okay. I want to talk to you for a second about, if I could shift gears, about the conversation that you indicated to Mr. Lally that you had with Ms. Reed. You were also asked about that conversation at the grand jury when you testified, correct?
Correct.
You testified that as the lead paramedic, you were specifically trying to get as much information from my client, Ms. Reed, as you possibly could concerning the victim and how the victim ended up being there, correct?
Correct.
You indicated, in no particular order, that you asked questions like, how do you know him, correct?
Correct.
How did he get here?
Correct.
What happened?
Correct.
Is there any additional information you can give me about what happened to this person?
Correct.
Okay, so that was a conversation that you were personally engaged in with my client in order to gather as much data, if you will, about what you were dealing with, correct?
Correct.
But your focus was, when you first arrived, your focus is, I need to attend to the patient, correct?
Correct.
Like, conversations notwithstanding, I need to deal with what's in front of me, which is an unconscious man in the snow,
Correct.
dressed inappropriately,
Correct.
and possibly freezing to death.
Correct.
But you did say that you had enough of a conversation with Ms. Reed that she answered you and said something to the effect of, I hit him, oh my God, I hit him.
Correct.
So then you followed up on that conversation, correct?
As much as I could, yes.
As a matter of fact, you said that you asked her additional elaborating questions.
Correct.
Well, did you hit him in the face? Or did you kick him? Or did you hit him with your hand? Okay. So that's a conversation that you're having with Miss Reed face to face.
Lawyer's good.
You're talking to her, you're looking her in the eyes, she's looking you in the eyes, you're standing still, and you're attempting as best you can to converse with this woman so that you can gather as much information as you possibly can as you attend to the victim.
Correct.
You indicated that that conversation lasted long enough that the conversation was frustrated by the fact that you weren't getting information that was helpful to you. So you turned that conversation over to Katie McLaughlin.
Objection? Sustained.
Lord of
Ask it
mercy.
a different way.
Sure. Did you
Yo, man, these lawyers good. God damn. Shout out to Karen Reed lawyers. They pretty good, man.
have, was your conversation in some way in your mind, and when I use the word frustrated, I mean, it was just, you weren't getting the information that you were seeking, correct?
It wasn't productive.
Okay, better way to put it, I'll use your word. That conversation was unproductive enough that you then moved the conversation over to Miss McLaughlin, correct?
Correct.
Firefighter McLaughlin. And once Firefighter McLaughlin engaged Miss Reed, you then began to attend to the patient again.
So the patient was already being treated by the other personnel on scene.
Okay?
I started the conversation, realized it wasn't going anywhere. I had other responsibilities. So regardless of how they ended there, they still needed treatment
Of course.
and transport. So that began my priority and moved her over to try and get as much information while treatment was being done.
What part of the treatment were you responsible for?
All of it.
Sorry, that's a great answer to a very vague question.
Yep.
What physically were you doing with Mr. O'Keefe?
In which particular moment?
When you first arrived and attended to him and physically touched him, in other words, were you the airway person? Were you the cardiac person? Were you doing chest compressions? Were you squeezing the bag?
I would have been doing chest compressions initially until I could delegate that task to somebody else.
Okay. And chest compressions, I'm going to butcher this because I've never been trained other than my little toddler. they look a little like what I'm doing now, correct?
Correct.
And I indicated one palm over my hand, arms extended, and you can see my shoulders moving up and down in a rhythmic fashion, correct? So if...
I didn't get an answer, correct?
Yes. I'll wait till then. What were you wearing?
What are they wearing? My uniform.
Didn't expect that one, did you?
That was a different one. Heavy winter coat.
Okay.
My uniform.
Do paramedics wear sometimes yellow, bright yellow for safety?
Yes.
Were you wearing a bright yellow, heavy winter coat?
I don't recall. I have a few different coats.
Got it. Do you remember what Miss McLaughlin was wearing?
I don't.
Okay. That conversation that you had with Ms. Reed at the scene, that had to have lasted, I'm not guessing it was very long, but it had to have lasted a minute
At most, yeah.
at most. Once you finished your conversation with Ms. Reed, did you then start attending specifically to the chest compressions and the high-level CPR that we've heard so much about from your colleague?
Yes.
As you're doing the CPR on the scene, that high-level CPR, high-quality CPR, was Mr. O'Keefe then moved to the scoop, which would then facilitate getting him on a gurney.
Correct.
That gurney was then moved between a couple of patrol cars, cruisers, and into the ambulance, correct?
Correct.
Once you were in the ambulance, the first priority is to get this person warm. Is that right?
First priority is always going to be CPR. The secondary would be getting them warmed up.
Okay. So obviously, when you got into the ambulance, you can shut the doors. There's a heater on in the ambulance.
Yes.
You never came back out of that ambulance after you got Mr. O'Keefe into the ambulance, did you?
No.
Okay. And you were in there with firefighter Nuttall at the time?
Nuttall and Kelly.
And firefighter McLaughlin was outside the ambulance doing whatever she was doing.
Correct.
Okay.
Initially, and then she came in afterwards to
Obviously.
assist. Yeah.
And did I hear you correctly when firefighter McLaughlin got in the ambulance, she took over the driving responsibilities?
So there's two different compartments. They're not connected. There's a little window between the two areas. So she assisted with interventions in the back. And then after we had established everything we needed to on scene to begin transport, she then got out and then started driving.
Got it. Thank you. I'd like to play, but first I'd like to have marked, I think it's already been marked, Exhibit 379. It's a video, a snippet of a video. It's probably 3 minutes long. It's not that long. I'd like to play that portion of the video for you. And when it's done, Firefighter Nuttall, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong notes. Firefighter Flamati, which is not that easy to say.
Did a great job.
I'm going to ask you to show me exactly where on the video, if you can, that you had this conversation
With the laser pointer?
with my client. Yes, you can use the laser pointer as you wish. This is just to orient you, if I may, Your Honor. The top, this, let me see if I can do this. There we go. The top is a dash cam from one cruiser.
So I'm going to see counsel at sidebar for a second, please.
Sidebar. Sidebar, y'all. Let's see.
I need to see side.
Pause it.
Oh. They're back.
For this, until we pause it, I'm going to ask you to focus your attention on the top dash cam video. Go ahead and play that. Can you pause it?
Actually, I need to see counsel at sidebar again.
Again? Sidebar again, yeah.
Folks, we'll take a 15-minute recess.
Oh, they're taking a 15-minute recess.
For instance,
We're gonna get through. All right, hold on. Get back to it. You don't want to miss that.
are muted.
Unmute me. Unmute me. Let me check. I don't know what happened there. He must have cut it in. What happened there? They had a sidebar or something? Maybe must have had a sidebar. Must have had a sidebar.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Firefighter from Flamati, I want to draw your attention to the top video, and I may pause it and ask you a couple of questions. Let's go. Pause. Did you see a person run into the screen?
Yes.
Run into the frame, rather, from screen left?
Yes.
Who's that?
I don't recall.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it. And pause. I want to draw your attention to the left side of the top video. Did you see somebody wearing a bright yellow jacket?
If you could rewind it, I'd look at that
Why
area.
don't I play it forward?
Okay.
And see if you see that.
Yes.
Pause. And do you recognize that person?
I see a yellow jacket. I can't tell you who it is.
Okay. Based on your memory, have you seen this before, by the way?
No.
Based on your memory, is that the approximate position that Mr. O'Keefe was in when you or your colleagues made contact?
Approximately. I'd say a little bit more to the left. That would be, I guess.
Okay. Go ahead and play. Pause it. You see the person enter from screen left into the frame.
It looks like a different person, yes?
That person right there. Looks like a long-haired female?
Yeah.
Does that appear to be my client?
From this angle, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Go ahead and play it. Pause. See a person wearing yellow right there on the left side of the screen.
If you're telling me that's a person, sure, yes.
No, he's not telling you. So ask the question. If you don't see it, you don't see it. If you do, you do.
I can't tell what that shape is.
Okay. Can you take a look, keep your eyes focused on that, and tell me if you see that figure doing anything? Pause it. Okay. Do you recognize that figure now?
I can't recognize the figure, but it looks like an up and down rhythmic motion
Okay.
that would indicate CPR.
Would that be you?
I couldn't tell you. Is the time accurate? Or 6:13?
I'm just asking you what you recognize on the video.
I couldn't tell you if that was myself or not.
Was there somebody else doing CPR?
Multiple people rotate through CPR, so yes.
Who was responsible for doing the chest compressions?
Whoever's closest to that area, we're all trained for that skill.
Okay. I'm asking in this particular case,
Yes.
I know everybody's trained. Did you testify earlier that you were the one doing the chest compressions?
I said I was one of them, yes.
Okay. Does that appear to be you doing the chest compressions?
It could be, I'm not sure.
Let's go to the play. Okay, stop it. You see the person basically in the middle of the screen there?
Yes,
Does that appear to be my client? Can you tell?
I can tell.
Go ahead and play it. Pause it. You see individuals entering from screen right.
Yes.
What does that appear to be in the yellow jacket?
That build would have been probably, it could have been firefighter Kelly or it could have been McLaughlin.
Who's the person trailing the gurney? Right.
I can't tell.
Okay, let's go ahead and play. Go ahead and pause it. The person in the hood just obscured that figure. Did you see that figure standing on the other side of the person in the hood?
No.
Go ahead and play it. Pause it. The activity that's going on just to the sort of left side of the SUV in the frame, can you describe for the jurors what that activity is?
So that would be lowering the stretcher to get ready to load the patient on.
And now pause it. Now, this person now appears to be facing the camera. Do you now recognize that person?
I don't.
Go ahead. Pause. Can you focus your attention on that individual in the yellow jacket?
Yes.
What does that person seem to be doing?
CPR.
Which part of the CPR?
Chest compressions.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
It's okay. Chest compressions.
I want to make sure that Nancy can get down what we're both saying. So which part of the CPR?
Chest compressions.
Thank you. Is that you?
I don't know.
Okay. At this point, you have no idea whether or not you don't remember whether you were the one doing chest compressions when he was moved from the ground to the gurney?
I don't recall.
But you did earlier testify you were doing chest compressions.
I did at some point during this call, yes.
Okay. In the entire length of this video, did you see anybody else trade off from that person doing chest compressions from the time the person was on the ground to the gurney? Or is that the same person?
It could be the same person. I'm not sure.
Okay. You say that's probably you.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Jurors disregard that.
Yo, man.
Pause it. I want to direct your attention to this person. It appears to be a firefighter in the middle. Do you see that person?
Yes.
Who's that?
Objection, may we?
The objection sustained. I'll see counsel at sidebar.
More More sidebar, more sidebar. More sidebar.
Apparently. Let's go to the play.
Build, I would.
Look, lawyer trying to be slick, saying little slick stuff. Lawyers is good though. Lawyers are good. They definitely poking some holes.
May I?
Yes.
Take a look at the person or the yellow in the middle of the screen. Do you recognize that?
As a fire jacket, and build, I would guess it was either firefighter Kelly or.
So we don't want you to guess.
My best estimation would be firefighter McLaughlin.
Firefighter McLaughlin?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the play.
Estimation, I guess.
Pause. Recognize the person in the yellow jacket to the right of who you just described as firefighter McLaughlin.
No.
What is that person doing apparently?
My guess would be,
Not even an estimate. Do you know?
I don't.
So I was saying, like,
Next question.
How they let the first estimate go down? That's what I'm saying. Like he said an estimate, and she let that. I think the prosecutor was supposed to object and they didn't. I think the prosecutor missed an objection right there because he wasn't supposed to estimate.
Okay. Pause. At that point, did you join your colleagues in placing Mr. O'Keefe in the ambulance?
Yes.
Okay. Based on that, did that appear to be you following the gurney in the yellow jacket over to the ambulance?
Yes.
Okay. And who is the lead firefighter? When I say lead, I mean the one to the right, leading the gurney on the front side of the gurney.
I'm not sure.
Okay. One of your colleagues, though.
Yes.
What did you do once you left the frame? Where did you go?
That would have been into the ambulance.
And as you earlier indicated, shut the doors, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you never came back out?
No.
Okay. I'd like to draw your attention to the lower video.
Okay.
And we're just going to let that play for a couple of minutes and see if you recognize anything. I'll ask you to pause it in just a second. I'm going to ask you to look up to the top video. You see what appears to be a person wearing yellow to the right?
Yes.
Recognize who that is?
No.
Go ahead. Awesome. Looking at the lower video, you see what appears to be a vehicle in the middle of the screen.
Yes.
What is that?
That is an ambulance.
Does that appear to be the ambulance that you arrived in?
Yes.
And that's the ambulance that you took Mr. O'Keefe to?
Yes.
Doors are closed?
Yes.
Are you in the ambulance at this point?
I'm not sure.
Well, if this was, let me just ask it a different way. If this was running continuously,
Yeah.
no pauses, you've already taken Mr. O'Keefe to the ambulance, would you have gotten in the ambulance?
I don't recall.
Well, I mean, you're not standing outside the ambulance.
So if you know the answer.
I don't know.
Next question.
You have no idea whether you're in the ambulance or not at this point.
At this point, no.
Would you have gone anyplace else when you left the frame?
Could have been to gather equipment, but for certain, I don't know.
Do you remember doing that?
Where would Mr. O'Keefe have been?
Been in the ambulance. Again, don't know for certain.
Could have been or was in the ambulance?
At this time, I don't know.
Okay. Go ahead. Stop. Okay. taking a look at both screens, you see the group of people, including the individual with the yellow jacket in the bottom screen,
Yes.
that appear to be the same from a different angle, same group of people, including the person with the yellow jacket on the top screen.
Yes.
Who was the person that was directed to get the medical history from my client?
McLaughlin.
You believe that's Miss McLaughlin?
No.
You don't think that's her?
That's crazy.
I'd have to rewind to know where she went.
Well, let me ask you a couple of other questions. Looking at the bottom screen, see a police officer?
Yes.
You see a woman with long hair standing next to the police officer? That appeared to be my client.
Yes.
There's an individual with a fire jacket on, right?
Yes.
And she was, Miss McLaughlin, was directed to get medical history and interview my client, correct?
Yes.
Does that appear to be what she's doing right there?
Don't know.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Yes, sustained. Definitely sustained. Definitely sustained.
At this point, where do you believe you were now?
I don't remember.
Think you might have been in the ambulance?
Maybe.
I don't remember.
You testified earlier, and this has been a continuously running video on the top.
Good lawyer, man.
Testified earlier that when you left the screen with that gurney, you got in the ambulance, correct?
We headed that way, yes.
So, Firefighter Flamati, it's not a trick question. Where did you go when you left the screen?
It would have been to either gather equipment or to put the patient in the ambulance.
You
Okay.
don't know?
When did what equipment did you need to gather?
It would have been anything that was left by the patient's side, whether it was a first-in bag, airway bag, any other equipment, basically.
You were doing chest compressions.
I didn't state that.
You didn't say that?
I said I did chest compressions at some point. I didn't say I did them continuously throughout the call.
So you just put John O'Keefe in the back of the ambulance and went to look for some equipment?
Not what I said. So chest compressions were done continually throughout, whether they were done by me or by another provider, I can't tell you specifically.
So when you left the screen and John O'Keefe is on the gurney, you're engaged in vital, life-saving, a vital life-saving endeavor, correct?
Yes.
That had to have been your focus, correct?
That was at the time, yes.
And you wanted to get him out of the cold, the weather,
Yes.
because it was inclement, it was freezing out, correct?
Yes.
So you wanted to put him in the ambulance, right? And you wanted to continue CPR because, in your words, you testified on direct examination, you believed that there might be some viability left.
Yes.
So CPR and life-saving measures were absolutely vital at that point.
Yes.
You didn't go find equipment. You got in the ambulance, didn't you?
Yes.
So at this point, you're in the ambulance, correct?
At this point, I don't know.
You indicated you never got back out of the ambulance after you got in, correct?
I don't believe so, no.
Did you see any place in that video where you had any sort of detailed conversation with my client?
No.
Did you see any place in that video where you engaged my client and said, how'd you get here? What happened? And she said, I hit him. And you said, how'd you hit him? All the stuff that you testified earlier to.
I didn't see that in the video, no.
Lord of mercy.
You indicated in a police report during an interview that you had with
Killing him.
Yuri Butnik on February 8th. That my client said, I hit him. Correct?
Correct.
You remember having that conversation with Sergeant Butnik?
I don't recall the conversation, but I'm trusting that your records are accurate.
Is it true that during that conversation, you indicated to Sergeant Butnik that, quote, Katie spoke with Karen Reed. Katie is Katie who?
McLaughlin.
Katie spoke with Karen Reed, collecting medical history for the victim, and was also told by Karen that the last time she saw the victim was at 1 a.m. that morning. That is when Anthony, who's Anthony?
Would have been myself.
That is when Anthony heard Karen say, I hit him, I hit him. Is that what you told Sergeant Buchnick?
I don't recall.
I
Does
don't
it
recall.
appear that this is the time, firefighter Firmani, that Katie McLaughlin is getting a medical history from my client, or attempting to?
I can't tell from the video. No.
You do know, however, that during this time, you're in an ambulance probably 30 or 40 feet away with the doors closed.
I don't know.
Well, you certainly don't see yourself in that frame, do you?
Doesn't appear to be, no.
Good. If we're done with the videos, can we take it down,
Of
please?
course. Yes, I think we are finished. Thank you, Your Honor.
Very interesting, sir. Very interesting, sir.
You were the lead firefighter on that team that night, correct?
Lead paramedic.
Lead paramedic, thank you. You understood, obviously, the gravity of hearing a statement like, I hit him, some sort of an explanation about what may have happened to the victim, correct?
Correct.
That statement could potentially have direct relationship to, or a direct relational impact on how life-saving measures are done by the
Exactly.
medical personnel that you turn the victim over to.
Absolutely.
You testified at the grand jury that you wanted, once you got to the hospital, you wanted to be as quote unquote helpful as possible when you handed over the patient, correct?
Correct.
You said you actually stayed at Good Samaritan for an additional 10 to 20 minutes, which is your habit in cases like this, because you wanted to be quote unquote an asset to the medical intervention team, correct? Correct. That team includes the doctors and nurses that were trying to provide life-saving services to Mr. Oakey.
Correct.
But you never relayed to a single doctor or a single nurse a single word about a woman who said, I hit him, did you?
Come on, bro. Come on, man.
So documentation for us ends at transfer of patient care. As far as my memory, I do remember relaying that information to the doctors and nurses.
Oh, really?
You do.
Yes.
Really?
Have you ever testified about that ever previous to this?
Never been asked about that.
Oh, nobody ever asked you, so you didn't tell anybody.
In
Don't
the
ask,
court
don't tell.
setting? No.
Testified in front of a grand jury, didn't you?
Yes.
Mr. Lally asked you a bunch of questions.
Yes.
During the course of that conversation that was under oath, did you ever disclose that you told the doctors and the nurses that you heard a woman say, I hit him?
I recall telling the doctors and nurses that there's a question of that the patient was hit
What?
by a vehicle or we don't know,
What?
is what I directly said to the doctors and nurses.
You
Not the
directly
same.
told the doctors and nurses that there was a question about whether or not he was hit by a vehicle, right?
Yes.
Why?
Have you ever said that in any context, either to the police or in a grand jury before today?
I don't recall.
You were asked a bunch of questions yesterday, the day before yesterday, and this morning by Mr. Lally.
Yes.
Did you say it on your direct examination?
I wasn't asked that question.
So since Mr. Lally didn't ask you, you just left it out that you told the doctors, the medical professionals, that in fact you described that this patient was likely hit by a car.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You wrote a report as well, correct?
Yes.
We talked a little bit about that report. There's an area in the report for a narrative
Yes.
about your observations, your experiences with this patient, correct?
Correct.
Your job as a lead paramedic is to be as detailed as possible, correct?
Correct.
You want to provide and impart the most detail you possibly can about an incident to assist in medical intervention, correct?
Correct.
Take a look at page 3 of 5 of your report.
Yes.
You see that narrative area?
I do.
Can you point to that portion of your report where you indicate that my client said the words, I hit him?
It doesn't say that.
Can you point to your report, the portion of your report, where you indicate that you told the doctors and nurses that she said, I hit him?
Doesn't say that.
Can you point to that portion of your report where you indicate that your concern for the patient was that he had been hit by a car?
Doesn't say that.
This is crazy.
You indicated on direct examination that you were, quote unquote, looking for anything that we could pass on to the emergency room that would assist.
Yes.
I think it might have been an assistance to the emergency room personnel to indicate that you believe this person had been hit by a car.
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you believe that that would have been an important piece of information to pass on to the emergency room assistants?
Objection.
I'll let him have that.
I'll let him have that.
Thanks.
I'll allow
It would have
it.
been important, yes.
And it's nowhere in your reports, correct?
It's not in the reports, no.
You didn't tell that to the police when you were interviewed 8 days later.
I was not asked about how or what I was.
My question is,
Yes.
did you tell the police 8 days later, or 9 days later when you were interviewed? And you didn't tell the grand jury that, correct?
No.
And you didn't mention that on direct examination in front of these jurors, did you?
No.
I have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Yeah. What happened to overruled? Yeah, I'm live. What happened to overruled? You know what I mean? I'll let him have that. Okay. Thanks.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Lally.
So Firefighter Fulmani, you had been asked some questions about the observation you made of Mr. O'Keefe's abdomen being distended. And absent any external observation of injuries, that could be from an internal injury cause. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, the conversation that you were talking about in which the defendant indicated to you repeatedly that she hit him or I hit him, that occurred on your sort of way to the body, correct?
Correct.
Really?
Now, turning back to sort of when you're coming to the scene and arriving at the scene, you've got a call or dispatch in regard to an unresponsive male in the snow, correct?
Correct.
You know that going there, correct?
Correct.
And where you sort of bring the ambulance to a stop, there are other vehicles already in that area where Mr. O'Keefe is, correct?
Correct.
And it's from that vantage point that you're able to then see Mr. O'Keefe's body off the side of the road about 10 feet or so into the lawn.
Correct.
Now, when it comes to chest compressions, your department, any department, as far as sort of the medical field that you're in, is there any sort of policy or protocol for how long one person should be doing those at a time?
So recommendation is always 2 minutes, but it's usually based on the fatigue of the provider. But really the most important thing is just quality of CPR and making sure that they have the best CPR throughout, regardless of fatigue.
So it's not recommended that one person do continuous chest compressions for 15 or 20 minutes, correct?
It's actually recommended not.
And so that would be sort of, when you have that many sort of assets with you on a scene, would it be typical for somebody to continue on with chest compressions for that long period of time? Those videos that you were showing up on the screen, have you ever seen either of those videos?
No.
So you have no idea as far as the times, whether they're accurate, correct?
No clue.
And whether the videos are synchronous, you have no idea about that either, correct?
No.
The conversation in which you heard the defendant say, I hit him, and the conversation that firefighter McLaughlin had in which the defendant told her, I hit him, those are two separate conversations, correct?
Correct.
Happened at two different times, two different locations, and you weren't even present for Ms. McLaughlin's statement, correct?
Correct.
You did, when you were interviewed by the trooper and when you testified before the grand jury, you indicated in both instances that the defendant said to you, "I hit him," repeatedly, correct?
Correct.
Now, when you were asked questions about what you relayed to the hospital staff, that what you're testifying to, that's your memory of what you told the hospital, correct?
Correct.
And you indicated in that you had said something to the effect of there's a question about whether or not Mr. O'Keefe had been hit by a car, correct?
Correct.
And so from your conversations with the defendant and the sort of expounding questions that you had asked for clarification, why was it that you related motor vehicle sort of specifically as a question to the hospital staff?
So it was due to the proximity of the patient to the roadway and the vagueness of the statement. So proximity to the roadway and the fact that she stated, "I hit him," the red flag of him being underdressed and not. People don't just lie down in the snow in a blizzard. So how he got there, we're not sure. So we're trying to figure out what happened, but due to the proximity of the roadway, that was our first inclination.
I have nothing further.
All right,
May I, Your Honor?
a couple of questions.
You indicated that it's not recommended that someone do chest compressions for 15 or 20 minutes.
Correct.
You saw the video. It was on
Correct.
screen. That video was about 3 minutes.
Yes.
Did it appear that the same person that was doing chest compressions at the beginning of the video continued doing chest compressions all the way through?
I don't know.
We just watched the video.
I can't tell you for certain which personnel. We all have yellow coats, so I can't tell you if somebody swapped. I don't know.
Did it appear to you in watching that video that the person that started on the chest compressions on the left side of the screen continued all the way through up to the scoop, up to the gurney, and off screen doing chest compressions?
Objection.
Sustained.
You indicated that when you heard this phrase, "I hit him," that your response was, did you hit him with your hand, right?
Yes.
Did you kick him?
Yes.
Did you punch him?
Yes.
That's what you previously testified to, correct?
Yes.
Nowhere in that conversation did you ever suggest that you hit him with your car.
I don't recall if I asked her specifically about that.
So now you don't recall about that either.
Objection, Your Honor.
Jane.
Yeah.
And for the first time in any forum, you're telling this jury that you then thought, based on that conversation that was attendant to the video that we just watched, you believed that Mr. O'Keefe had been hit by a car and that she said she did it.
I did not say that. So what? Am I allowed to respond?
Yes.
Yep. So I left it open-ended to the staff of the hospital that these are both possibilities of what happened to the patient.
And of course, if you had said that to the staff of the hospital would certainly put it in some of the medical reports, correct?
They don't have to. It's really up to them.
And you're aware that none of those have that statement.
I'm not aware.
All set? All right, you are all set, firefighter Flamati, or paramedic Flamati. Thank you. Who is your next witness, Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor. The Commonwealth will call Mr. Matthew Kelly.
Okay.
Another liar, man. I don't know why. Man, these people.
May I
lying,
approach just to retrieve the exhibit?
Sure.
I think it's right there.
They getting caught up in these lies. Well, how so much people got the same false account? What's that about?
Step up there, just watch your step forward.
You solemnly swear the evidence given to the court and jury in the case now and hearing true the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Morning. So you consider stand however you're comfortable. Just bring. Perfect. Thank you. All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Sure. Matthew Kelly, Kelly.
And what is it that you do for work, sir?
I'm a firefighter paramedic for Canton Fire.
And how long have you been a firefighter paramedic with Canton Fire?
Approximately 2.5 years.
And prior to working for the Canton Fire Department, what, if any, other employment did you have within that sort of field?
I worked for a private ambulance, first ambulance service for approximately 5 months.
And sort of geographically, where was that located?
Boston area.
Now, prior to you working as an EMT or a paramedic, you worked as an EMT before working as a paramedic?
Correct.
Okay. And so prior to working as either an EMT or a paramedic, did you have any sort of training or did you receive any sort of certification in regard to being an EMT paramedic?
Yeah, so I had to do a 6-month EMT course, and then I had to do a practical and written exam for the course and then for the state to get my EMT. And then for paramedic school, it was about a 10 to 12 month didactic portion. And then I did a 12-month, I believe it was 200 hours clinical in the hospitals. And then I did 300 hours ride time. And then I had to do a practical and written exam for the course and also for the state. And now with Canton Fire, I'm getting precepted as a paramedic.
And when you use that term as far as precepted, what exactly does that term mean within your?
It just means that you get trained by an experienced paramedic for an extended period of time until they say that you can do the job on your own.
And with regard to being a EMT and a paramedic, you receive a certification in regard to working within that field?
Can you say that again?
With regard to being an EMT and a paramedic, to receive some sort of certification, either from the state or some other body in regard to working in that field?
Yes.
You have certification in regard to both?
Yes.
And is that certification up to date at this point?
Yes, it is.
Sir, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, the evening of that, into January 29th, 2022. Were you working with the Canton Fire Department that day?
Yes, I was.
Recall what kind of shift you were working on that day?
24-hour shift on the ambulance.
And which station house were you assigned to on that day?
Station 1.
And that's located where within the town of Canton?
99 Revere Street.
And you were assigned to the ambulance, is that correct?
Correct.
And who, if anyone else from your department, was assigned to the ambulance along with you?
Paramedic Anthony Fulmati.
And on that morning of January 29th, do you recall about what time that you woke up on that day?
I believe it was about 4:45 a.m.
When you woke up, what, if anything, is it that you did with regard to your duties and responsibilities around fire station house one?
So we woke up a little bit early to shovel off the apron, shovel off the parking lot, and just prepare for the new shift coming in.
And just briefly, sir, so when you go outside to shovel, what, if anything, do you recall about sort of the weather conditions and what they were at that point?
There was snow on the ground. It was snowing, high winds, low visibility, still dark out.
And do you recall being dispatched to a call shortly after 6 a.m.?
Yes, I do.
And what was that call, or what was that dispatch in regard to, and where specifically were you dispatched?
It was unresponsive male in the snow on Fairview Road.
And that area of Fairview Road, through your work with the Canton Fire Department, are you familiar with that specific area?
Yes.
And you respond in the ambulance, is that correct?
Correct.
Who, if anyone, goes along in the ambulance with you?
Fulmati was in the passenger seat, and then paramedic Tim Nuttall was in the back.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
And in addition to the ambulance, ambulance one that you were in, what, if any, other sort of vehicles or apparatus responded from your station to Fairview Road?
We also had an engine and our shift commander SUV.
If you recall, who was the shift commander in the SUV?
Shift commander was Captain Wendell Robery at the time.
And Captain Robery is now the chief of the Canton Fire, is that correct?
Correct.
And as far as the engine was concerned, who, if anyone, was assigned to the engine and responded to the call as well?
It was Lieutenant Greg Woodbury, firefighter, paramedic Katie McLaughlin, and firefighter, paramedic Frank Walsh.
And as you're driving from the station house to Fairview, what, if anything, do you recall about weather conditions, visibility, anything like that along the way?
Just heavy snow and wind, real low visibility, good amount of snow on the ground, so I was just trying to take it slow so we didn't spin out or drift or anything like that.
And can you describe for the jury sort of the route that you took from the station on Revere Street to Fairview Road that morning?
Yep, we took a right onto Revere Street, left onto Sherman Street, right onto Chapman Street, and then a left onto Fairview.
And as you're driving down Fairview, what, if anything, can you tell the jury about sort of the elevation of that roadway as you go from Chapman down to where you stopped?
It was a pretty steep, long road downhill. It was probably downhill for half of the way through Fairview. And because of that, I was just trying to go real slow so we didn't drift down the hill.
And one last question about driving, but as you're driving along, what, if anything else, did you observe as far as sort of other vehicular traffic on the roadway, any other cars, trucks, anything like that?
Nothing until I saw the police cruiser at the scene.
And so as you're approaching the scene and you're driving towards it, what, if anything, sort of first draws your attention to where you're going and where you stop?
So it was just real low visibility, but we could see blue lights at the time, so just kept going towards the blue lights and knew that it would be in that area.
Now, where do you stop in relation to the cruiser?
I believe they were facing towards us, so we would be in front of them.
And at some point, you're being dispatched for an unresponsive male party, correct?
Correct.
And so when you're pulling up to the scene, you see the cruiser, are you able to also see any sort of unresponsive male party?
Not when I'm in the truck. I had to get out of the truck to see.
And when was it and how far away from it were you at the first time that you observed the unresponsive male?
Once I got out of the truck, I was probably had to be about like 5 feet away until I could see the victim.
And at this time when you're arriving, sometime shortly after 6 a.m., is it light out, dark out, or something?
It's dark.
And just so we can stop saying unresponsive male, at some point you identified who the patient was that you eventually treated and transported. And who did you identify him?
Mr. O'Keefe.
The John O'Keefe, is that correct?
Correct.
So you get out of the vehicle. You all get out at the same time, is that correct?
Relatively, yeah.
And where is it that you, firefighter Fermati and firefighter Nuttall, go?
So we first go to pick up some of the bags and stuff that we would need to conduct a arrest, and then we just go straight over to the body and some people that were around there.
And with regard to the bags that you retrieved, what kind of bags are we talking?
We'd take like a first-in bag that has miscellaneous stuff. We'd take an airway bag, and we would take a cardiac monitor. And
when you indicate as far as where Mr. O'Keefe was, who, if anyone else, or what, if any other people were in that same area?
Can you say that one more time?
When you first go over to where Mr. O'Keefe is, who, if anyone, or how many other people are in that general area?
Sure. I remember seeing a police officer and two women.
And as far as where Mr. O'Keefe was, first of all, how was he positioned in relation to the town?
He was on his back, probably about around a fire hydrant, probably about 5 or so feet from what I saw would be the street.
So you believed about 5 or so feet in from the road, correct?
Correct.
Now, with regard to Mr. O'Keefe, when you first come over, what, if anything, did you observe as far as snow on him or around him or in the area where he was?
I don't really recall.
Do you recall how Mr. O'Keefe was dressed when you first get over there?
I believe he was wearing a hoodie, like a sweatshirt and jeans, and remember he had one shoe on, but forget which shoe it was.
You don't recall which shoe it was, but there was one shoe on his foot at that point.
Correct.
And when you first arrive at this patient, at Mr. O'Keefe, what is it that you and the other firefighters are doing in regard to treatment at that point?
So the other firefighters were checking for a pulse, and then after that, I was getting some of the supplies, and then we would start compressions and start moving them into the ambulance so we could get a better look at them and what we were doing.
When you say start compressions, what kind of compressions are you referring to?
CPR.
Chest compressions?
Yes.
Correct. And based on your training experience, is there some sort of protocol as to how long one individual should be doing chest compressions?
So we want early and continuous chest compressions for as long as the person is pulseless. We will take breaks in order to check for a pulse and check for any rhythm changes.
And so when breaks are taken, is that one person that's doing those same compressions the entire time, or is it switched off or something?
We try to switch off every few minutes.
Now, when you first approach where Mr. O'Keefe is on the ground, what, if any, sort of injuries, if at all, did you observe on Mr. O'Keefe at that time?
On the ground, I didn't observe any injuries or recall seeing any injuries at the time. It wasn't until got him in the ambulance that I saw some injuries.
And so from that sort of initial assessment and initial sort of treatment of the patients, what exactly does that sort of assessment and treatment consist of when Mr. O'Keefe is on the ground?
Basically just checking for breathing and if he has a pulse. It was pretty dark and very low visibility, so we wanted to get him out of the conditions and into the ambulance to kind of further assess him.
And from your sort of initial assessment, did he have a pulse and was he breathing?
No.
And so want to get him out of the conditions, and how was that accomplished?
I believe we used a scoop board or a scoop stretcher. It's just a backboard that breaks into two pieces that you can slide underneath the victim or the patient. We used that, and then we had picked him up and put him onto our actual EMS stretcher, and then just put the stretcher into the ambulance.
And where was the stretcher sort of placed in regard to where, or in relation to where Mr. O'Keefe was 5 feet off the road?
I don't recall.
I don't recall.
Now, once you get to the ambulance, what, if any, difference did you notice between sort of the lighting in the ambulance versus the lighting outside on the lawn?
So there was very low visibility outside. There was great visibility inside with lighting all around the back of the ambulance.
And so once you're in the back of the ambulance, what, if anything, did you observe or note at that point in regard to any injuries you observed to Mr. O'Keefe?
He had like a swollen black and blue right eye, and he had some blood around his mouth.
Now, as far as Mr. O'Keefe was concerned, during treatment, you're touching or making contact with Mr. O'Keefe's body, correct?
Correct.
And during the course of that, what, if any, observations or what, if anything, did you note in regard to sort of tactile observations of Mr. O'Keefe?
He was very cold to touch, very stiff, almost frozen-like. Yes.
Now, at some point during the course of your treatment in the back of the ambulance, are his clothes removed?
Yes.
Why is that?
It's just so we can try to examine his full body for any other injuries.
And there's some concern for cardiac arrest, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain, are you familiar with that term?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what your understanding based on your training experience is as what is cardiac arrest?
Sure. It would be when a person has a lethal cardiac rhythm where they no longer have a pulse.
Now, once the clothes, as far as being removed, how are they physically, sort of, how are they removed?
I believe they were probably cut off with trauma shears.
And once the clothes are removed with trauma shears, what, if any, additional observations did you make of injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's body?
There was some lacerations on his right upper extremity.
Now, the chest compressions that you were talking about, was that continuous sort of throughout the patient care with respect to Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
And in addition to that, what, if anything, was done with respect to body temperature for Mr. O'Keefe once in the back of the neck?
So we did some rewarming. So we did heat blankets and warm fluids.
And as the chest compressions continue in the back of the ambulance, what, if anything, did you observe with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's nose or mouth?
I remember that there was some blood or vomit or bile coming out of his mouth.
Now, turning your attention to back outside of the ambulance, taking you back there for a moment. You indicated in your testimony that when you arrived there were two females in the area where Mr. O'Keefe was. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you describe anything as far as what they look like or anything about those two females that you saw?
I just remember they were white, looked to be between 35 and 45 years old, I would say, and average build and height.
What, if any, sort of distinguishing characteristics did you observe between one or the other?
I remember one had some red stuff around her mouth. I was thinking it could be blood.
And that individual that you observed with red stuff that you thought could be blood around her mouth, what, if any, observations did you make of her as far as her demeanor or anything like that?
She was just acting kind of erratic and kind of running around screaming different things.
And as far as the different things that she was screaming, what, if anything, do you recall specifically hearing her screaming when she was running around?
It was just something like, "He's dead. He's fucking dead."
Is that something that she said once or more than once or something?
At least twice.
As far as that sort of phraseology, was that consistent throughout?
I would say so, yes.
Now, when you enter the ambulance, does the patient care continue, obviously, with Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
And if you recall, who was sort of involved in that patient care in the back of the ambulance?
Me, Nuttall, Flamati, Woodbury, Walsh, and McLaughlin came in a little bit later. I'm not sure if she did any patient care or not.
So the majority of the people from your department that responded to the scene at one point or another were involved in patient care with regard to Mr. O'Keefe.
Correct.
Now, you drove the ambulance to Fairview, is that correct?
Correct.
And so for the transport from Fairview, what hospital did you go to?
Good Samaritan.
So for the transport from Fairview to Good Samaritan, who drove the ambulance then?
McLaughlin.
And so firefighter McLaughlin's driving, where are you located within the ambulance?
I was in the back with Nuttall and Flamati.
Do you recall sort of specifically what, if anything, you were doing with regard to patient care during the transport phase?
So I was just helping them transport phase. I was doing compressions before, but we had switched them over to a automatic compression device. So I was just involved in helping ventilate and suction.
And was there who, if anyone else in the back of the ambulance was also sort of working on the airway portion?
We've Nuttall, and I forget who else.
Now, during the course of transport from scene when you arrived to Good Samaritan, what if any change did you note in reference to Mr. O'Keefe as far as heart activity, respiratory, anything of like?
No changes.
Ms. Gilman, if I could ask for exhibit number 9, please. Firefighter Kelly, I'm just directing your attention to the screen and what's been marked as exhibit number 9. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that?
The location of the scene.
For the house that you responded to on January 29th, is that correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could also have exhibit number 18. And again, sir, just directing your attention to the screen, do you recognize the photograph that's up on the screen?
Yes.
What's depicted in that photograph?
The location of the scene, again.
Sort of a different view of the same home, is that correct?
Correct.
Can I approach the witness, John?
Yes.
This is the laser pointer, basically there's a button there, just press on that.
Okay.
Firefighter Kelly, with using that laser pointer that you have now before you, if you could, please direct the jury's attention on the screen to whereabouts you located Mr. O'Keefe in that supine position when you first arrived.
It's about this area right here.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing further to this witness.
All right, cross-examination.
Yes, may we approach for a minute?
Okay. Jurors, remember, you can stand up and stretch anytime you go to someone.
All right, stretch, jurors, stretch.
Now, with
Correct.
Hold on. About to go down. Hold on, it's about to go down. Now, let's see some cross-examination. You know what? This cop doesn't understand. This what is it? Firefighter, paramedic. He don't seem. He seems okay. He seems okay, man. Let's see exactly how this goes, man. But he don't seem that bad. He seems okay. He seems like he wants to be honest. And let's see.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Kelly, you and I have never met before, correct?
Correct.
We've never had a conversation
Correct.
in or out of court.
Correct.
Now, with regard to the clothing that John O'Keefe was wearing when you came upon him, I believe you remembered that he had on a pair of jeans,
To the best of my recollection, yes.
and you remembered that he had a hoodie sweatshirt.
Yes.
And what also stuck out in your mind is that he had only one shoe on, correct?
Correct.
From your memory, you're not sure if it was the left or the right shoe, but it was one of those, correct?
Correct.
And you did not see another shoe or the matching shoe in the area anywhere around where he was lying, correct?
Correct.
And to your memory, you never saw that other shoe, correct?
Correct.
Now, with regard to the removal of the clothing, I believe you testified before this jury on direct examination that trauma shears would have been used. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And what do those look like? How big are they? And if you could describe them.
They're about this big, so say 6 inches, and they have usually like a plastic or metal handle, and then just kind of 2 curved blades that are used to cut.
And are they essentially a large pair of scissors?
Yes.
And are they sharp? in terms of the blades.
Yes.
And they need to be somewhat, heavy duty because you don't know what type of clothing you're going to have to cut through, correct?
Correct.
Where was it that the trauma shears were used in order to start to remove John O'Keefe's clothing that morning?
I don't recall.
Do you recall if it was before he was put into the ambulance, during the ambulance ride, or after he was at the hospital?
I believe it would, I don't recall, but I believe it would be in the ambulance.
I'm sorry, there's a little bit of noise. Could you repeat that?
Sure. I don't recall, but I believe it would be in the ambulance.
In the ambulance. And you wouldn't have waited until you got to the hospital because there was a reason why you were taking the clothes off, correct?
Correct.
And what was that reason?
To look for any other injuries that the patient might have.
And that was a priority as you were treating him, correct?
Correct.
You don't think that you cut off his clothes before you put him in the ambulance, correct?
Correct.
And you don't think that, and when I say you, I mean your team.
Right.
You don't think your team cut off the clothes after he was out of the ambulance, correct?
Correct.
So it was sometime during the ride.
Correct.
Do you recall who it was that actually used the trauma shears along that ride?
No.
Do you recall at what point during the ride? Would it have been sort of the beginning of the ride, or would it have been toward the end?
Toward the beginning.
Now, with regard to the clothing that was cut, do you recall if it was the sweatshirt, the jeans, or both?
I don't recall.
Do you think, or is your memory that the hoodie sweatshirt was left on him without being cut?
I don't recall.
Where did that clothing go after it was cut by the trauma shears during that ride?
Some of it would stay right on the stretcher, but I don't recall on all of it.
Okay. And some of it could have been on the floor of the ambulance as well?
Potentially.
And then once the ambulance arrives at the hospital, what is the protocol regarding the clothing that had been cut?
It gets transferred over to the RN in charge of the patient and usually stays in their room. Usually they'll put it in some sort of bag.
Okay. And is the clothing put in the bag? Does somebody meet you out at the ambulance in order to collect the clothing, or do you bring the clothing into the hospital in order to transfer it to an RN?
We bring it in.
And do you recall who it was that brought in that clothing?
No.
Who was with you at that time going into the hospital from the ambulance?
Noto and Flamati.
So it had to be one of the three of you that delivered that clothing to an RN, correct?
Correct.
Do you know if all the clothing was delivered to an RN or if some stayed in the ambulance?
I don't recall.
And once you give the clothing to the RN, do you see where she takes it?
I don't recall.
Did you go into the treatment room wherever John O'Keefe was brought once he was at the hospital?
Yes.
And you had previously testified that you believed the clothing would have been brought in with him, correct?
Correct.
Do you have a memory of seeing that clothing within that treatment room at the hospital?
I don't recall.
Do you recall seeing the clothing on the floor?
I don't recall.
Okay. Now let's get back to when you first arrived on scene. And actually, but before I get to that, I did want to ask you a couple of questions about where you were at in terms of your career on January 28th, 29th. You were a fairly new firefighter?
Correct.
And you were conscious, you had been trained not long before January 29th, right? It was within several months?
2 months, yeah.
Oh, within 2 months, okay. And your priority as a new firefighter was to follow your training, correct?
Correct.
It was fresh in your mind.
Correct.
You wanted to do things the right way, correct?
Correct.
And particularly at the beginning of your career, you don't want to develop any bad habits, correct?
Correct.
And you were following protocol once you got to the scene as best you could, correct?
Correct.
I believe you testified on direct examination that when the ambulance got to 34 Fairview, as soon as it was parked, you and Anthony Flamati went straight to the body, correct?
I don't recall saying that. I wasn't sure who went straight to the body. I said some of us got some supplies.
Okay. I thought your testimony, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought your testimony was that you may have gotten some supplies, but then you and Flamati went straight to the body.
Yes, so we did, me and Nuttall.
Got supplies?
Me and Nuttall went to the body.
All right, where was...
But we didn't go straight there. We got supplies first and then went to the body. Or I got supplies first and then went to the body.
Okay. How long did it take you to get supplies?
Probably within a minute, I would say.
Okay. And where was Flamati when you were getting supplies?
I don't recall.
Once you got to the body, who assisted you with regard to treating John O'Keefe?
I believe it would be the people who were on scene with me.
Who would that have been?
Flamati, Nuttall, Walsh, McLaughlin, Woodbury, and Robery.
Okay. So is it your testimony that your memory is that 5, 6, however many people were there with you, all were hovered over John O'Keefe doing treatment on him?
Not treatment, but getting supplies, getting the stretcher. We're all working together, but we weren't all involved in the treatment portion.
Sure, and the treatment was essentially CPR, correct?
Correct.
Chest compressions?
Yes.
And dealing with his airway as well?
Correct.
Which of your coworkers and/or you were directly involved with the CPR, the chest compressions, and the airway issues?
I recall that I was doing compressions and helping suction and ventilate in the ambulance, but I do not recall who else was partaking in that.
Okay. So let's talk about when John O'Keefe was put on the scoop stretcher and then ultimately taken to the ambulance. Who was with you when that was occurring?
So it would have been me, Nuttall, Flamati, and Robery, I believe, were trying to get him on the scoop. And then I believe the engine guys were trying to get the stretcher.
Who were the engine guys?
That would be Walsh. It must have been Walsh, Woodbury, and McLaughlin, but I don't recall who exactly was getting it.
All right, so your memory is that yourself, Nuttall, and Flamati were loading John O'Keefe onto the scoop?
I believe so, yeah.
And then from the scoop, he's put on a stretcher?
Correct.
And then who would it have been that wheeled the stretcher to the ambulance?
I don't recall who it was.
You?
I don't recall.
So you have no memory of who would have taken John O'Keefe on that stretcher into the back of the ambulance?
I don't recall who actually did it, but it would just be whoever's in the best location at the time to move the stretcher.
All right. Do you have a memory of John O'Keefe going into the back of the ambulance?
Not a clear memory, no.
Who went into the ambulance with him?
Me, Nuttall, Flamati, Walsh, Woodbury.
Okay. And by the way, once he's on the scoop and then put on the stretcher, the priority is to get him into that ambulance, correct?
Correct.
And part of the reason for that is he was cold, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your priority was you wanted to warm him up, correct?
Correct.
And the best place to do that would have been the inside of that ambulance, correct?
Correct.
So it wasn't that he was put on the stretcher and then there was some detour in terms of where he was taken. You made or whoever took him, made a beeline for the back of that ambulance in order to get him warm, correct?
Correct.
And once he's in the ambulance, the priority at that point would be to close the doors of the ambulance, correct?
Correct.
Because if you leave the doors open, there's a blizzard outside, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. Let's go ahead, Ms. Giannetti. Keep moving forward, please.
Well, why sustained?
And so the doors were closed to the ambulance, correct?
At some point, yes.
All right. And inside the doors of that ambulance, as you testified, was at least, not naming everybody, but at least you and Nuttall and Flamati, correct?
Correct.
And once those doors were closed to the ambulance, none of you left the ambulance, correct?
None of us, meaning
I'm talking specifically about you and Nuttall and Flamati.
I don't believe so.
No. You would have remained in the ambulance all the way to the hospital, and that's the point in which the doors would be open, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, I'd like to ask you some questions about the scene that you came upon in terms of the people who were there when you arrived, sir. You had previously testified that you saw, I believe you testified that you saw two women and a law enforcement officer already on scene, correct?
Correct.
One of those women appeared to have blood around her mouth, correct?
Correct.
It was something red, but you assumed that it was blood, correct?
Correct.
And that led you to also believe that she had rendered or tried to render CPR, correct?
Objection.
Is that what you thought?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that like an overruled or what?
And while you were on scene, it was the woman who had the blood around her mouth who appeared to be most upset, correct?
Correct.
She was really upset, correct?
Yes.
Would you go so far as to say she was distraught,
Yes.
hysterical,
Yes.
frantic?
Yes.
And you heard her say, he's dead, he's fucking dead, something like that, correct?
Correct.
And she didn't say it in the tone of voice that I just said it, correct?
Correct.
She was screaming when she said that, correct?
Correct.
It was very easy for you to discern that her words were, he's dead, he's fucking dead, correct?
Correct.
And she repeated it more than once, correct?
Correct.
And it's fair to say that at no point in time did you ever hear her say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree with me, sir, that you have been extremely consistent in terms of your memory of what she said, correct?
Correct.
You've been asked these questions not for the first time by Mr. Lally or me in court today. There have been other occasions where people have asked you, what did the woman with the blood on her mouth say when she was on scene, correct?
Correct.
You were asked that by Trooper Proctor on February 9th of 2022, correct?
I don't recall.
It's probably unfair of me to say the date, but you do recall speaking to a state trooper not long after these incidents, correct?
Correct.
And to that state trooper, you told him that what she said was, he's dead, he's fucking dead, correct?
I don't recall.
You don't recall saying anything differently than that, do you?
I remember saying a lot differently, but I might have also said that. I just don't recall.
Well, you don't, and let me rephrase that. You don't recall changing her words at all. You recall, you've always said he's dead, he's fucking dead, correct?
Correct.
That was not only to the state police on February 9th, but then in April of 2022, you were in a grand jury setting, correct?
Correct.
There was no defense attorney there on that day, correct?
I don't believe so.
You don't remember seeing me there?
No, I didn't see
Okay.
that.
Mr. Lally was asking you the questions, correct?
Correct.
And there, you also said that what the woman with the blood on her mouth said was, he's dead, he's fucking dead, correct?
Correct.
And you've testified to that today.
Yes, sir.
You've never changed that story, correct?
Correct.
And that is because the truth does not change, correct?
Exactly.
Correct.
I agree. It makes so much sense. This guy's version of what she said makes so much sense because she's been trying to give him CPR and it's not working. And according to what all of them said, when they got there, the man is stiff. He's already dead. And she's panicking and she's going crazy because it's clear to her after trying to give him CPR that this dude is dead and she's losing it because he's dead. But what all those other people is saying is, she said, is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? And that was kind of like, I really was questioning that. I really couldn't understand, like, if she's giving him CPR, if he's been there for hours, if he's already frozen, you don't think she would have realized he's pretty much dead? But what this guy's saying makes more sense to what she would have said, or it just makes more sense. And he didn't hear that other stuff that they said about, she said, I hit him, it's my fault. He didn't hear that. And he's the new guy, it seems like.
All right, at this point, I'd like to play a 15-second portion of a video, which I would offer as the next exhibit, Your Honor.
Okay, so we'll watch it and then you can
Thank you
offer
very
it.
much.
With no narration, right?
Never. And before you start, I'm not as interested in the video, sir. I'm interested in the audio. So if you could listen as best you can.
Sure.
You have drug problem? Did you run? Did you run? Huh?
Would you agree with me, sir, that we heard what you heard that night, which is he's dead, he's fucking dead?
It was kind of hard for me to hear.
I couldn't really hear
heard
it
about,
either.
does he do drugs? I couldn't really hear the background.
I may have moment wrong.
Okay.
May we approach?
Okay.
We approaching. I don't be hearing. I don't know, man. I be trying to listen carefully, but I'm not hearing. It's real hard to hear clearly.
Mr. Kelly, I got permission to play it one more time.
I'll try my best.
So again, and by the way, before it's queued up, I would direct your attention more toward the beginning of that 15 seconds. As there are things that happen, I think, that you heard at the end, but you tell us if you can hear, or what you can hear.
Okay.
You have drug problem? Did you run? Did you run? Huh?
That's enough. What did you hear?
I heard someone say fucking dead.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any redirect?
Just briefly on. Mr. Kelly, from that video that was just up on the screen, you indicated that when you got to the scene, you saw the cruiser and parked sort of behind the cruiser, correct?
Around the cruiser, yeah.
So from that video, you didn't see the ambulance that you were driving anywhere in, correct?
Correct.
You have no idea whether or not you were even on scene at that time that any of those statements that were made in that video were made, correct?
Correct.
Now, as far as patient care was concerned, were sort of all of you, being yourself, firefighter Flamati, firefighter Nuttall, firefighter McLaughlin, firefighter Walsh, firefighter Woodbury, Were you all together all the time, or were you doing separate things in separate places during the course of your time on?
Separate things in separate places, yeah.
So fair to say that everything that you heard may not be everything that someone else that was there from your department that day heard, correct?
Correct.
And conversely, something that someone else heard may not be necessarily something that you were in a position to hear that day, correct?
Correct.
You also asked some questions about sort of using the shears and cutting off Mr. O'Keefe's clothing during the ride. Is it your testimony that that was in the back of the ambulance, correct?
Correct.
Was that during the transport, or was that prior? Would you be utilizing shears on a patient, cutting off clothing while the ambulance is in transit?
No.
So if it was in the back of the ambulance, that would have been prior to the ambulance leaving the scene and going to Good Samaritan, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further.
Your Honor, the only thing I would offer is the video that I played. I have
All
it.
right, so we will do that.
Thank
So,
you.
Mr. Clerk, it's already been pre-marked, right?
Oh,
Do you not have it, Nancy? Okay.
I'm sorry, I was mistaken. It has not been pre-marked.
The exhibit 380.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're all set?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, you're all set. sir.
Thank you.
Your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Call Mr. Francis Walsh to the stand.
Okay. Tori, what do you have for today? Numbers.
Watch your stuff.
You solemnly swear the evidence you give to the court and jury in the case now and here and should the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thanks, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Francis Walsh, W-A-L-S-H.
And what do you do for work, sir?
I'm a lieutenant paramedic with the Canton Fire Department.
And how long have you been a
Whole fire department.
firefighter paramedic with the Canton Fire Department?
Just shy of 10 years.
And you indicated that you have the rank of lieutenant, is that correct?
That's correct.
How long have you been a lieutenant with Canton?
Since September of last year.
Now, with regard to, you have certifications both as an EMT and a paramedic, correct?
That's correct.
And with regard to those certifications, when was it first that you sort of received those?
I received my paramedic certification in June of 2014. That's when I was officially certified.
Is that something that you've been subject to sort of continuing educational components and recertification since then?
Yes, yeah, every 2 years we have to recertify and take continuing education classes.
And is your certification up to speed at this point?
Yeah, it's current. I just recertified last month, actually.
Now, if I could turn your attention to the evening of January 28th into January 29th, 2022. Recall that day?
I do.
And were you working that day with the fire department?
I was.
And what kind of shift were you working on that occasion?
24-hour shift, which is standard.
Is that 8 a.m. to 8 a.m.?
That's correct.
That, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be 8 a.m. on the 28th until 8 a.m. on the 29th?
That's correct.
And so where were you assigned to on that particular day?
I was assigned to headquarters, which is on 99 Revere Street, and my position was engine driver.
So fair to say people within your department get different sort of assignments on different apparatus based on the different shift that they're working.
That's correct.
Your assignment that day was the driver of the engine?
Correct, yes, engine 3.
Now, beyond sort of your assignment as the engine driver on that particular shift, what, if any, sort of specialized assignment do you have, or did you have at that time in regard to snow removal?
Yeah, so on that particular shift, I was also the snowplow driver. We have an in-house truck and a snowplow for the fire department, and that was my responsibility on that shift.
How many people within your department have that sort of responsibility when it comes to snowplow driving?
It kind of depends group to group. So some working groups will just kind of rotate and have a different person do it each time. At that time, the group that I was on, I kind of had the most experience plowing, so I was always the go-to person to be in the plow truck when it snowed.
And so with respect to that duty, about what time did you sort of get up on that morning of the 29th?
I believe it was around 4 a.m.
And why was it that you got up at that time?
It was snowing pretty heavily. I mean, we knew the forecast called for a lot of snow. So I got up early and hopped in the plow truck.
And so, and just briefly, in addition to the snow, what, if anything else, did you observe as far as the weather conditions when you were out in the plow truck?
It was very windy. Yeah, just windy and really heavy snow.
Now, at some point, shortly after 6 a.m., does your department get dispatched to a call?
Yes.
And where was the dispatch to, and what was it in regards to?
So I didn't hear the actual dispatch because I was in the plow truck. I was in the rear of headquarters in the plow truck. But my Captain Robery, came out and told me that we had a call for 34 Fairview Road for an unresponsive male party. And he told me, to hop in the engine and head to that call.
And when you hop in the engine, who, if anyone else from your department, was assigned to the same engine as you on that day?
So I had Lieutenant Woodbury to my right in the passenger seat and Firefighter McLaughlin in the rear.
And beyond the engine that you were driving, what, if any, sort of other apparatus from your department was dispatched to the call that day as well?
So that would have been Ambulance 1, and then also Car 5 went as well. That's kind of like an optional thing, but with a call of that severity, the captain will go as well.
And who was in Car 5 on that day?
Captain Robery.
And you drove the engine, is that correct?
That's correct.
If you could describe for the jury sort of what you observed as far as the road condition, visibility, things that like en route from the station to Fairview Road.
Yeah, so it was really, really poor driving conditions and visibility. I can't recall ever driving to a call of that nature and that severity that slowly. The visibility was so poor that we were just driving extremely slow.
Let's go further away. Okay. And from, if you could describe to the jury sort of the route of travel that you took from Station 1 to Fairview Road.
Sure. So out of Station 1, take a right onto Revere Street, and then a left onto Sherman Street, a right onto Chapman Street, and then a left onto Fairview.
Now, if you recall, what was sort of the order? You're all sort of dispatched and you're all sort of responding around the same time, being Car 5, the ambulance, and the engine, correct?
Correct.
And if you recall, what was sort of the order of the vehicles in response?
So Engine 3, we were the last vehicle for the fire department to arrive on scene. So when we arrived on scene, Ambulance 1 and Car 5 were already on scene.
And if I could ask, just sort of as you're turning on to Fairview Road and you travel down it, what, if anything, do you know about sort of the elevation of the roadway as you're driving down through?
It's a downhill grade. Yeah, it gets a little bit steep at one point.
And the residence that you eventually stopped at or responded to, where was that in location in reference to when you first turn on a Fairview, about how far down is the residence that you eventually go?
Pretty far down. I believe it's one of the last houses on Fairview.
And the residence that we're talking about is, from your perspective, when you're driving down there, is that on your left or right or something?
Left.
And as you're approaching the scene, what is it sort of that you see before you as, how do you know where to stop and where you're going?
Yeah, so, I mean, like I said, visibility was really poor, but there was ambulance 1, car 5, at least a couple of police cruisers on scene before us, so it's kind of hard to miss that. So that's how we knew where to stop.
Now, in regard to you're responding to an unresponsive man, correct?
Correct.
And just to be clear, at some point you were able to identify, or you were told what the identity was of that unresponsive male patient, correct?
That's correct.
What was his name?
John O'Keefe.
And so with respect to Mr. O'Keefe, as you're approaching the scene, when was the first time that you were able to sort of see where Mr. O'Keefe was on scene when you arrived?
It wasn't until a little bit after we actually arrived on scene that I could see the patient, because as we pulled up, the ambulance was blocking our line of sight to where the patient was, so I couldn't see him right away.
And what was sort of the I know you talked about visibility, but as far as, had the sun come up yet?
No, it was pitch black.
And so when you arrive on scene, what is it that you and sort of the other people on your engine are doing in relation to patient treatment?
So at that point, I got out of the engine and I started walking towards where the ambulance crew was. But at that point, firefighter McLaughlin was coming around to the rear of the ambulance to get the stretcher out. So I went directly to that to give her a hand with that. And we proceeded to bring that around the front of the ambulance where firefighter Nuttall, Flamati, and Kelly, and I believe Captain Robery were working on the patient.
All right, so he refers to all of them as firefighters. They're all firefighters that are paramedics. Okay. Now,
in reference to where patient Mr. O'Keefe was, where was he? Could you see sort of how in reference to the ground?
I could see the other firefighters and captain that I just mentioned had just put him on the backboard at the first time that I saw him. I'd say that was like roughly 10 feet in from the road.
And to that point, how were you able to say that it was approximately 10 feet in from the road?
Just an estimate.
Let me ask you, as far as the stretcher was concerned that you and firefighter McLaughlin retrieved, where did you place that in relation to where Mr. O'Keefe was when you first arrived over?
So we placed that. We decided to leave it on the street and get it as close to the grass or snow as possible. It was unspoken, but we knew that we didn't want to put the stretcher onto the snow because it would be too unstable. So we put it right up against the curb. So right at the edge of the street where the street meets the yard.
And so you put the stretcher basically right up against the curb, and Mr. O'Keefe was approximately 10 feet.
That's correct.
And with respect to positioning the stretcher, was that parallel with the curb or perpendicular to it, or how was it?
Parallel.
And mentioned that obviously Mr. O'Keefe is on scene, and there are a number of different firefighters from your department, correct?
That's correct.
There was at least a police cruiser. Did you see any officers sort of around the scene?
Yes, I remember Officer Saraf and Sergeant Good.
And with respect to civilians, what, if any, civilians did you observe around the scene?
I observed 2 female civilians.
And where were they in relation to where you were, or in relation to where Mr. O'Keefe?
I mean, they were pretty worked up, so they were moving around quite a bit. But I'd say they were somewhere in between myself and the stretcher and where Mr. O'Keefe was.
And did you yourself have any conversation with either of the 2 females that you saw?
I did not directly, no.
And you just testified a little bit before that they were upset. Is this so both of them were?
Yes.
And what, if anything, leads you to that sort of conclusion as far as their demeanor? What, if anything, did you specifically observe?
I mean, I observed one of them like screaming and crying, and they were both just frantically like moving around a lot.
As far as the one that you observed screaming or crying, do you recall specifically what, if anything, that person said?
All I recall her saying was, "Is he alive?"
With respect to Mr. O'Keefe,
Wow.
as far as his clothes, what, if anything?
Wow. He heard, "Is he alive?" Others heard, "Is he dead?" One guy heard, he's fucking dead." I don't think he heard anything with the word alive in there. I don't know. I don't know.
Any observations did you make of his clothes?
The notable observation that I made was that he was missing one shoe, his right shoe.
And where was Mr. O'Keefe when you made that observation of missing one shoe?
It was when we put the stretcher into the ambulance, the stretcher lifts up, so it's kind of right at my face, and that's when I noticed it.
So at the time he was being placed in the ambulance, you only had one shoe based on what you saw.
That's correct.
Now, once Mr. O'Keefe is in the back of the ambulance, where did you go?
So I stayed down at the feet. I was positioned right by his right leg.
And what, if any, difference did you know between sort of the lighting conditions outside on the lawn versus the lighting conditions in the back?
In the back of the ambulance, it was dramatically better.
And so once in the back of the ambulance, what, if anything, did you note or observe as far as injuries to Mr. O'Keefe?
I noticed a hematoma on his right eye, and I noticed some blood coming from his nose.
And just to be clear for the record, so when you say hematoma, based on your training experience, can you explain what your understanding of that term is to the jury?
Swelling and bruising.
Now, at some point, with respect to the clothing that Mr. O'Keefe was wearing, what, if anything, did you or other firefighters or paramedics from your department do with reference to Mr. O'Keefe's clothing?
We removed all of his clothing.
And let me first ask, how was that removal sort of accomplished?
Can you repeat that?
When you removed his clothing, how was that? How did you do that?
Oh, with trauma shears, basically scissors that cut clothing.
And once sort of, was that pursuant to some sort of protocol, or
Yes.
why was the clothing?
Yeah. On any trauma call, it's protocol to expose the patient so you can see all injuries and you don't miss any injuries.
And once the clothing was removed with the trauma shears, what, if any, additional injuries or anything did you observe?
I noticed some scratches and lacerations on his right arm.
Now, in reference to treatment in the back of the ambulance with regard to Mr. O'Keefe, what, if any, sort of role in that did you sort of assume, or were you sort of assigned by the lead paramedic?
Yeah, so I was responsible for the IO drill and access. It's an intraosseous access.
Can you explain to the jury sort of what that is and how that's accomplished?
Yeah, so you do that instead of IV access. So when somebody's in cardiac arrest, it's really hard to get an IV. So what you do is you actually drill into a bone, and you can administer medication and fluids like into the bone marrow space.
And so pursuant to, so Mr. O'Keefe was undergoing cardiac arrest, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain your understanding of that term based on your training experience to the jury? What is cardiac?
There's no cardiac function. His heart isn't pumping blood anymore.
And so what, if any, sort of protocols are there as far as medication administration is there in reference to a cardiac arrest?
Yeah, so the frontline medication for that is epinephrine. That's what we gave through the IO access.
What is the purpose of the epinephrine?
Epinephrine, I mean, basically in layman's terms, it gets the heart pumping again, if that's a viable option.
And in addition to the epinephrine, what, if any, other medication was administered through the IO?
I believe that was it. As far as when I was on scene, it was just epinephrine.
Do you recall anything about salines?
Oh yeah, saline as well, but it's not a medication. But yeah, we also administered saline.
What is the purpose of the saline?
Saline is just to increase blood volume.
Now, as far as the transport, Mr. O'Keefe is then taken from the scene to a hospital, correct?
Correct.
Did you go along with the ambulance on the transport to the hospital?
I did not.
So you remained on scene at least for some period of time, correct?
Very briefly, but yes.
And you referenced some officers from the Canton Police Department that were on scene when you were on scene, correct?
Correct.
And without reference to anything said, which of them, if any, did you have any conversation with prior to leaving the scene?
Sergeant Good.
And just as far as what you told Sergeant Good, what, if anything, did you relay to him before you left the scene?
I relayed to him that there were signs of trauma in the patient.
And did you give it any sort of further explanation as to the signs of trauma that you observed?
Yes, I believe I told him what I told you about the hematoma on the eye and the blood in the nose and the scratches and lacerations on the arm.
So you told Sergeant Good what you've just testified to this jury that you observed?
I believe so.
Ms. Gilman, if I could ask for exhibit number 18. Firefighter Walsh, what's up on the screen is exhibit 18. Do you recognize that?
Yes, 34 Fairview Road.
Is that fair, minus whatever the weather conditions are, fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed that day, 34 Fairview?
Yes.
May I approach the witness to speak?
Yes.
So this is again the latest one.
Okay.
And so, Firefighter Walsh, if I could ask, using that laser pointer, if you could direct the jury's attention to where within this photograph, if you see it, that you observed Mr. O'Keefe's body when you first arrived on scene.
Right in that general area.
Thanks. May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Cross-examination?
Yes. Good afternoon, sir.
Good
Right
afternoon.
now.
I just want to ask you about the woman that you saw on scene who appeared to be screaming and crying. Would you agree with me that she stood out to you because she appeared to be the most upset
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yes.
and the loudest?
Yes.
She appeared to be crying more than others,
Yes.
and she was screaming, right?
Yes.
And what you heard her say, I understand your testimony, was that she just said, "Is he alive?" Correct?
That's what I recall. Correct.
In a loud voice,
Yes.
in a distraught voice,
Yes.
while she was crying.
Correct.
I have nothing further.
There's nothing, Mr. Lally, right?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you are all set, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who is your next witness?
Ms. Katie McLaughlin.
Watch your step. Standing, face the door.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the evidence you give to the court and jury in the case now and herein shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You can have a seat. I just need you to speak into that microphone nice and loud.
Who is this?
Okay, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Good afternoon. Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
It's Katie McLaughlin, McLaughlin.
And what do you do for it?
I'm a firefighter paramedic for the town of Canton.
And how long have you been a firefighter paramedic?
Probably about 7 years at this point.
And prior to working for the Canton Fire Department, what, if any, other work did you do sort of within that general field?
I worked as an EMT basic for Brewster Ambulance. Went to paramedic school. I eventually became a paramedic for Brewster Ambulance, and I worked there for a few years before getting on the fire department.
And just briefly, but prior to becoming a paramedic or working as a paramedic, what, if any, sort of training did you receive in regard, or certification did you receive in regard to being a paramedic?
So it's a 2-year schooling where you have about a year of didactic. There's a lecture portion for about a year. And then after that, there's about a year to a year and a half of clinical training that's done in an ER and then done in an ambulance. So that whole period is around 2 years.
And prior to working at the Canton Fire Department, you received certification from the state or some other sources, paramedic, correct?
Yes, it's through the state and through a national registry.
And both those certifications through the state and the national registry, are those granted sort of forever, or is there like a continuing educational component and a recertification process?
So you recertify every 2 years. You have to take continuing education classes in that 2-year period. And that's just on a 2-year cycle you recertify.
And your certification is up to date at this point, is that correct?
Yes.
Ma'am, if I could turn your attention to the dates of January 28, 2022 and January 29, 2020. Do you recall those dates?
Yes.
And were you working with the Canton Fire Department on those?
Yes.
Do you recall what kind of shift you were working from the 28th to the 29th?
It was just my regular 24-hour shift.
And 24-hour shift in Canton Fire is essentially 8 a.m. to 8 a.m., is that correct?
Correct.
And where were you sort of assigned within the town of Canton Fire Department on that day?
So I was on the engine for that shift. So I was the third person on the engine. There's an engine driver, there's an officer, and then there's a third person who's in the back.
And so your sort of role with respect to the engine, is there sort of like a name for that position?
Some people call it like the back step. Yeah.
And which station house were you assigned to on that engine?
The Station 1, which is 99 Revere Street.
And in addition to yourself, who, if anyone else, was assigned to the other sort of two roles on the engine?
Frank Walsh was the engine driver that day, and Greg Woodbury was the lieutenant on the engine that day.
Now, turning your attention to that morning of the 29th, do you recall about what time you got up or what time you went outside that day?
I think we were up maybe a little before 6 because it was snowing, and we had to like shovel the front apron. So we were up maybe 5 a.m.
And so when you were up around that time, around 5 a.m. and outside, you were outside shoveling, is that correct?
Yep. Intermittently, yeah.
So during the times that you were outside shoveling, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the weather or the conditions at that
It was snowing pretty heavily. It had been snowing. We were shoveling, and it was pretty cold and windy.
And if you know around that time that you initially sort of went out and were shoveling, about how much snow had accumulated at that point?
I don't know how much. I mean, enough for us to shovel that front apron, but I don't know how much.
Sometime shortly after 6 a.m., were you and other members of your department dispatched to a call?
Yes.
And where were you dispatched to, and what was that dispatch?
So the call came in as a man down in the snow or a man unresponsive in the snow, and the call was 434 Fairview Road.
And about how long was it from the time that you sort of received that dispatch and go sort of on the engine to that residence on Fairview?
How long?
Yes.
We're on the truck and going probably within a few minutes at most.
And so in addition to yourself and Firefighter Walsh and Lieutenant Woodbury, what, if any, other sort of apparatus from your station was dispatched?
The ambulance was dispatched as well, and I believe the command car 5, also was dispatched to the call.
And as far as car 5, if you recall, who was in car 5?
At the time, Captain Robery.
And with respect to the ambulance, if you know who, if anyone, was assigned to the ambulance and went with the ambulance?
Firefighter Kelly and Firefighter Flamati were on that ambulance. And I believe Tim Nuttall was also there. He came in early, and so he jumped on the ambulance as well.
And with respect to when you get to Fairview Road, do you recall what sort of order the vehicles were in as far as car 5 and the ambulance and fire engine?
I think car 5 was maybe first, and then the ambulance was in front of us, and then we pulled up behind the ambulance.
And so when you sort of arrive on scene, pull up behind the ambulance, other than vehicles from your department, what, if any, other sort of vehicles did you observe or see on scene that day?
I noticed there were multiple police vehicles, and at least one civilian vehicle.
Now, obviously, you're responding to a report of an unresponsive male party, correct?
Yes.
And when you're sort of first arriving on scene, or just in reference to when you arrived on scene, when was the first time that you were able to see that unresponsive party?
So when I got out of the engine, I went right back to the ambulance to get the stretcher, because I knew that from wherever they were, they seemed to be kind of off of the road. So I got the stretcher with Firefighter Walsh, I believe, and then we brought the stretcher as close as we could to the patient, and that was like parallel to the curb, and that would be the first time that I observed them working on a patient.
And so if I could just ask you, just with regard to sort of those duties as the backstep person, so what is sort of the duties and responsibilities of the backstep person on the engine to this kind of medical call?
So the role of the person in the back of the engine is, it kind of is dependent upon what that lead paramedic needs you to do. You're there to assist the ambulance in any way that they need. So that could be assisting with extrication of a patient. It could be obtaining information about a patient or bystanders. It could be assisting with patient care if they need you in the back of the ambulance. It really depends on what they need you to do for that particular call.
And turning back to your testimony just from a moment ago, you said they were over rendering sort of patient care. Is that correct?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I noted Tim, I noted Tony, and there were a lot of people that seemed to be around that area. So I'm not sure exactly who else was there, but I did note Tony and Tim were in that area.
As far as sort of the other people in that area where Tony and Tim, so people sort of beyond people from your department, what, if any, other sort of people did you notice around that?
I don't know specifically. What do you mean, like
As far as
outside of the?
Right. So outside of fire department personnel in that area, what, if any, observations did you make of those people? Who were those people?
Well, at that point, I couldn't really make out like the identities of like other people. I noted Tim and Tony, but I didn't really pick up on who anyone else was at that point. They were still like in off of the road at that point.
And so from where they're positioned with regards to the patient, and just for clarity purposes, you were subsequently learned the identity of the patient, correct?
Yes.
Who did you learn him?
John O'Keefe.
And where you and firefighter Walsh were with the stretcher, how far away from where you were was Mr. O'Keefe and the other firefighter?
They were, I don't know that I could give a number, several feet away. They were like, I remember kind of seeing a fire hydrant, but I don't know exactly number wise what that would be.
And from your observation of where Mr. O'Keefe was, could you tell how his body was positioned?
He was supine, so he was lying on his back or face up.
And what, if anything, by the time that you arrived with firefighter Walsh on the stretcher, what, if anything, could you see that firefighters Flamati and or Nuttall or anyone else was doing with reference to O'Keefe?
By that point, it seemed like they had already got him pretty much secured on a backboard, and they were ready to move him to the stretcher.
And once Mr. O'Keefe is then moved with the backboard from where he was to the stretcher where you are, what happened?
So I remember Tony was kind of at the head of the stretcher. I was standing on the side. There was a woman next to me, and Tony said to me, "Can you try to figure out what happened?" And he kind of motioned to this woman that was next to me.
And so firefighter Flamati, who's the lead paramedic, directs you to ask some questions of this female, correct?
Yes.
And fair to say this woman that was next to you, you didn't know her, you never met her before?
No.
From your conversations with her that day, do you see that woman in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you just direct us to where she's seated or an article of clothing she's wearing? That's record of reflect identification identified with the charm.
Okay.
Now, with respect to this woman, she's standing next to you when you're at the side of the stretcher, correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, observations did you sort of initially make as far as her demeanor, or how was she sort of acting when you first started to?
She seemed very upset. Very upset.
And when you say she seemed very upset, what about her did you observe that made you say that?
Just her facial expressions. She was just visibly distraught.
And so as far as your questions, what type of questions are you asking, or what type of information are you looking for from this person?
So just basic demographic info, who the patient is, his name, his date of birth. And then as far as any more questioning. You're trying to gather information that would basically help explain how this person ended up in the scenario that they're in. So did he have any medical problems? Does he take any medications daily? Does he have any allergies to medications? I was asking those questions.
And as you're asking those questions, what, if anything, is the defendant is doing while you're asking?
She answered who the patient was, his birthday. I think she answered the maybe some of those initial medical questions that I asked. But as I said, she's very distraught. She was kind of moving around the scene a little bit, so I was just kind of following her, and then we came to a stop at one point, and I continued to ask I asked one more question.
What was that one more question?
So at that point, I asked her if there had been any significant trauma that happened before this.
What, if anything, did she say?
So she said, I hit him. She repeated it. There was a woman standing across from her who I believe at that point said, you're hysterical. You need to calm down. You're hysterical. She repeated, I hit him. And there was a police officer who was in that vicinity kind of with us who replied, you what? She repeated it one more time. And that officer then signaled to somebody, get Goody down here, which I'm assuming would be the sergeant.
And you don't report that? He don't report that? That was his reaction, and he don't report it. That's crazy.
So when you have this conversation, if you recall, you mentioned that the other person who was across from you was just, was that somebody from your department or an officer or a civilian, or who was that?
So I was standing, Karen Reed was to my right. There was another woman to the left of me, kind of across from her. And then there was a police officer kind of, not directly across from me, but within the same kind of area that was more closer to Karen, I would say.
You know who that officer was?
I don't.
You know who the female or civilian person that was across from you? You know what that person's name is?
No.
And with respect to when Ms. Reed said this repeatedly, I hit it, can you describe for the jury sort of the tonality of that? Like, how did she seem? She was very, very upset. She seemed hysterical, I would even say. Just very upset. Once you received that information, did you follow up with any other questions to Ms. Reed at that point? At that point, I did not. I have to drive the ambulance, so it's a time-sensitive situation, so I knew I had to drive the ambulance. It was said in the presence of the police officer, so I felt like that was the appropriate, that information was appropriately transferred, and I just felt, based on her demeanor, I don't think it would have been productive for me to continue to ask her questions at that point. And so after asking and receiving that answer of I hit him, where did you go? So I went to the ambulance. And in reference to the ambulance, did you go to the back of the ambulance, the front of the ambulance? Where did you go? So I went to the back of the ambulance where the patient care was happening. And as far as the information that you had received from the defendant, did you relay that information to any of the other firefighters from your department in the back of the ambulance? I did. And recall who was there in the back of the ambulance when you relayed that? Tony was there, Tim,
think maybe firefighter Kelly, firefighter Walsh maybe might have been in there at that point.
Now, as far as when you get to the back of the ambulance, what, if anything, did you do with reference to assist or help as far as patient care with regard to Mr. O'Keefe?
I didn't assist or partake in any patient care.
Now, prior to putting Mr. O'Keefe into the back of the ambulance and prior to your conversation with the defendant, what, if any, observations had you made during the brief time that you were on the side of the stretcher of Mr. O'Keefe and any injuries?
I noted he had injuries to his face. I noticed some blood from his nose, from his mouth, and most notably, he had some swelling to his eyes, mostly the right eye, and a laceration above the right eye.
And same as far as when you went to the back of the ambulance to relay the information that you have been asked to obtain. What, if any, injuries did you observe from Mr. O'Keefe once he was in the back?
Oh, I'm sorry. I observed those injuries in the back of the ambulance. I didn't observe those injuries while he was out on the stretcher. I didn't get a good look at him.
You really hadn't got a good look until you
Right.
came back.
Right.
Now, as far as you indicated, you drove the ambulance from Fairview. Where did you go to?
Good Samaritan Hospital.
And as you were driving that ambulance along the roads from Canton to Brockton, what, if anything, you know as far as visibility, road conditions, things like that?
There was poor visibility. The roads weren't plowed yet, so it was probably longer than usual based on the conditions.
And I apologize, but if I can take you just a step back further for a moment, just in reference to when you're in the back of the ambulance, you indicated the injuries that you observed. What, if any, observations did you make as far as the clothing that Mr. O'Keefe was wearing?
I noted that he was wearing jeans. I noticed a lighter, like a black zip-up jacket or sweatshirt. It was like a lighter jacket. I noticed he had one sneaker on, and that was it.
Do you recall which foot the sneaker was on?
I don't.
All right, could I see counsel for a second, please?
Damn, my bad. Let's skip some of this silence.
If you have but a couple of things about to finish with the testimony.
Oh, they about to wrap this up.
Just trying to figure out some logistical things because we're going to go on a view tomorrow. We're going to finish with the testimony first, and we'll go on the view after we finish with firefighter McLaughlin's testimony. So, but a couple of things about the view. Please dress comfortably. I really appreciate everybody's dressing respectfully for court, but wear comfortable shoes at least for tomorrow. So those three cautions, please do not discuss this case with anyone.
Right,
don't do any.
All right. All right, so, wow, interesting. Hold on. Oh, shit. Okay. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. Interesting series of events, ladies and gentlemen. No sound. Sorry about that. That was they were doing sidebar, but that wraps up for day 3. That wraps up for day 3, and we're gonna see what happens on day 4 in the next one. In the next Karen Reed murder trial episode, Karen Reed revisited. So we'll see how that goes next time. This last witness here, she's a key witness, I guess, to the defense. So it's interesting to see her testimony. I want to see what the defense decides to do with her. I want to see what the defense decides to do with her. She said that when she spoke to Karen, Karen told her the stuff about I hit him. But I don't know if those other people was there, the ones that said they heard. She said the officer was on scene, but I'm not sure if those other guys that said they heard that, I'm not sure if they heard it or not. I don't know. We're gonna hear some more testimony, but we definitely gonna see the cross examination, and that'll be interesting because the defense seems to be pulling out things that the prosecution wasn't pointing out, as and that's what they're supposed to do. But we reached this part of the show, which is the ending. We reached the ending. So far, most of the witnesses that I'm seeing, they're all part of the fire department. They're paramedics for the fire department, but they all do the same thing. Something like that. Right before they talk, they say, they all do that. Every last one of them. Right before they say something. I don't know if it's from hanging out with each other or what, but they all do the same thing. And they all got the same story, similar story, except for the one guy who said that she says, "Is he alive?" The other guy said that she said he's fucking dead. We have this girl saying she said, I hit him. The other guy said he didn't hear that. But just think about it. Unresponsive police officer, contusion over the eye, hemorrhaging, blood by the nose, laying in a pool of blood. They doing CPR, and they heard her say, I hit him. It's my fault. And that's not a part of the report. That should be like evidence. I just don't see it. I don't see that part happening and them not making it a statement about it in the report. That should be something that's like solving the case as soon as you got on the crime scene. It's like you got a confession. As soon as you got on the crime scene, the killer confessed. Why would you not report that? I'm sorry, that's hard for me to believe from a police officer of years on the force and all that. That don't make no sense. That doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Right now, it's time for us to go. I'll see y'all in the morning. We got an interesting case I want to check out. We got an interesting case I want to check out. I'm gonna see you guys in the morning. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you for tuning in. Leave your comments in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think.